Chapter 1172. After the black phoenix appeared in the sky, the air above the four seas became even thinner. It was as if even the air was lost in the eternal night and was about to disappear. There was nothing special about the black phoenix. However, this wasn't because the black phoenix's appearance was mediocre. Enveloped by the pure power of night, the black phoenix was like a phoenix-shaped black hole that had split open in the sky. At this moment, the black phoenix flapped its wings, and the boundless night sky above the island was instantly withdrawn into the black phoenix's body. The black phoenix looked even more reserved now that the island was illuminated again. It was so restrained that not even the slightest bit of its own aura leaked out. As Biyao transformed back into her true form, the scorching world-roaring dragon, who had activated his immortal body, revealed a relaxed expression. Relieved, the scorching world Oregon mocked Biyao. Undying level 3, you haven't even awakened the colored armor on your undying body, yet you still shamelessly say you're far from it. Today, you will stay here and be burned to ashes by the flames. Biyao said disdainfully as she flung her dark tail feather that was wrapped in the power of eternal night. How can an ordinary fae like you understand the meaning of being blessed by the heavens? How can you easily imagine the power that the heavens love and care for? Dragon blood stays in the body, dragon marrow is nurtured in the bones. Among the main dragon species faes, you're considered excellent, but you ultimately didn't condense the dragon ball. For the rest of his life, he will just eat and wait for death on the bloodline of the main dragon species. Today, this dojo master will let a mortal like you know the difference between you and a favored spirit. Biyao's words were filled with arrogance. His tone was like that of a high and mighty chosen one mocking his inferior subjects. Biyao's insult made the scorching serpent dragon feel an uncontrollable rage. Under the fury of the scorching world serpent, the mantle at the bottom of the ocean was shaking violently, and several volcanoes popped up on the surface of the ocean. The lava from the volcano dyed the entire sea a reddish-brown. At that moment, the scorching sea dragon sharply discovered that the sky-engulfing lotus leaves that covered the island were still growing wantonly in the seawater that was even hotter than lava. It was not affected by the temperature of the sea at all. This discovery immediately made the scorching world Oregon panic. His eyes stared straight at the blue-haired woman who was sitting on the platform built with the water of the four seas. What baffled the scorching serpent was that the blue-haired girl was stuffing tomatoes into her mouth unhurriedly. His expression was relaxed. At this moment, an old man wearing a rose-red robe embroidered with a red pagoda-shaped pattern emerged from the island and arrived in front of the scorching world serpent in the sky. He grabbed the dragon-bone spear that the blazing world-roaring dragon was holding and said to Biyao with a grave expression. I didn't expect to see the eternal night phoenix, one of the 16 masters of the blessed mansion, on this remote island. I forgot to introduce myself. I am the manager of this island's pagoda canon. I am the pagoda reader under Lord Scarlet Page of the Scarlet Tower. After saying that, the old man's expression turned solemn and his tone was filled with threat. It doesn't matter if my fae can defeat you or not. As one of the 16 hall lords of the heaven-blessed dojo, you attacked my pagoda canon and even killed a kneeling pagoda chanter personally chosen by Lord Scarlet Page. Your blessed mansion cannot withstand Lord Scarlet Page's wrath. The old man was dumbfounded by the current situation. He didn't understand why the blessed mansion, which had always been cautious with the pagoda canon, had taken the wrong medicine. Not only had she come to find trouble with the pagoda canon, but she had also dared to kill someone from the pagoda canon. Although the old man was the pagoda reader under Scarlet Page of the Tower of Eternity, the death of a kneeling pagoda chanter during the next pagoda canon meeting. Among the 36 chanters kneeling before the Scarlet Tower, there would be one missing member. Hence, this matter couldn't be concealed no matter what. Lord Scarlet Page would definitely find out. As for how Lord Scarlet Page would deal with the blessed mansion, the old man didn't care. Right now, the old man only hoped that the eternal night phoenix would be intimidated by Lord Scarlet Page's reputation and back off. Although his fae, the scorching world-roaring dragon's immortal body, was a class higher than the eternal night phoenix, the eternal night phoenix was a true blessed spirit. The old man couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the blessed spirit's uniqueness. After the old man finished speaking, before White Phoenix could speak, a huge opening appeared in the seawater. The island in the middle of the sea was originally located in the deep sea area, according to the opening in the sea surface. The movement of the mantle at the bottom of the sea could be easily seen. The two halves of the seawater suddenly turned into two blue lotus flowers. The two blue lotus flowers were like a huge clamp. They immediately sandwiched the small island and the experts of the pagoda cannon on the island. The small island was instantly crushed by the two lotus flowers and merged with the seawater. The scorching world-roaring dragon used its immortal body to protect the old man, but the two orchid flowers' attack carried the power of the entire sea. Even if the attack couldn't hurt the scorching world-roaring dragon, it could still do its best to protect its contracted fae. However, the remaining 3 Emperor-class experts of the pagoda cannon and the 3 Emperor-class experts' contracted faes were turned into debris that couldn't be found in the sea under the attack of the two blue lotus flowers. Blue Lotus, who was on the imperial platform, said in a cold voice. The heaven-blessed mansion's hall masters have never been 16, but 17. Since you said that the heaven-blessed mansion has 16 hall masters, you should know why we want to kill the people of the pagoda cannon today. The two of us can't beat the 8 pages of the pagoda cannon, but that doesn't mean everyone in the heaven-blessed mansion is afraid of the 8 pages of the pagoda cannon. Our heaven-blessed mansion has secluded ourselves from the world for 1,000 years and never caused trouble, but that doesn't mean we can be bullied by anyone. The crimson page's rage is nothing. Saying that, the blue-haired woman's face suddenly revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Then, she spoke to the old man with a playful expression. You really should thank that stupid dragon of yours. Hee, the heat produced by the underwater volcano's eruption allowed my companion to recover from his injuries in advance. As soon as Lan Lian finished speaking, the brownish-red sea that was dyed by the magma suddenly turned golden red. Red, magnificent red. Gold, dazzling gold. This red was like blood spreading on the seabed, while the gold was like a blazing warm sun rising from the seabed. In the sky above the sea, a tall red-haired man with a thin figure appeared beside Bai Feng, who had transformed into her true form. The man's heterochromatic eyes, one gold and one red, looked at Bai Feng seriously. Brother Bai Feng, leave the people of the pagoda cannon to me. The red-haired man's tone was calm and warm, but it had unquestionable determination and seriousness. Upon hearing the red-haired man's words, Bai Feng sighed and transformed back into her human form. ABC. Chapter 1173. Bai Feng said as she looked at the wound on the red-haired man's arm that had yet to fully heal. Shua, don't force yourself. Shua shook his head and said. Brother White Phoenix, after I awakened the Corona Jade Spider bloodline and transformed into a favored spirit, you haven't seen the exclusive skill that I obtained after advancing to an immortal species, right? Today, I'll let you have a good look. Hearing that, Bai Feng's eyes lit up, revealing a look of anticipation. Then, he looked at the blazing world-roaring dragon and the old man, whose auras were clearly in a mess after the Blue Lotus's attack. I haven't told you before, but I don't like people calling my main body by its name. I like people to call me Bai Feng. My brother, Shua, is the 17th dojo lord of the blessed dojo. Spirit of heaven's favor, the bloodline of the celestial Corona Jade Spider has not disappeared from the heaven's favor mansion. Hearing this, the old man's eyes flickered. Aside from the various hall masters, it wasn't as if the blessed ones didn't have other treasures. The heavens' blessed mansion protected the lives of many treasures favored by the heavens. It was just that the strength of these heavens' chosen ones was too low, not enough to take on the position of blessed one's hall master. From the moment the Blue Lotus appeared, it was true that it had mobilized the power of the 4 seas. However, Lan Lian had never clearly displayed her aura and pressure. Heavenly chosen spirits were favored by heaven and earth. Heavenly chosen spirits that possessed the power of water were the favored children of the water. All the rivers in the world would strive to please it. Thus, it was not difficult for such a heavenly chosen spirit to mobilize the power of the 4 seas. However, the furious attack just now proved that the blue-haired woman on the platform was also a dojo mistress of the heaven-blessed dojo. The woman did not activate her immortal body, nor did she use her body martial transformation, but a casual strike from her had such power. This meant that the woman was probably more powerful than the eternal night nether phoenix. After realizing this, the old man knew that he and the scorching serpent wouldn't be able to escape. If it was just white phoenix, the old man knew that even if he used his sacred source life form and the scorching world roaring dragon activated its immortal body, he would not be able to escape the eternal night dark phoenix's attack. But there were still a few hours before nightfall. These few hours were enough for him to find a way to seek Lord Scarlet Page's protection. If the eternal night nether phoenix continued to chase after him, the blessed mansion would have one less owner. Now, however, there was an additional divine spirit that wielded the power of water. Moreover, this was the ocean, and every single tide was a tentacle of the chosen spirit of water. Under the pursuit of Si Zhang's divine spirit of water, there was no way he could escape the sea. 2 attacks from the 2 heavens blessed dojo masters killed 4 of the Scarlet Tower's kneeling chanters. From this, it could be seen that the other party had no intention of letting him leave alive. The old man was already prepared to die, but when it rains, it pours. The old man, who had the will to die, suddenly realized that the spirit of providence that had attacked the base of the pagoda cannon wasn't one of the 2 spirit of providence. There were 3 of them. He thought too highly of himself. When the blue-haired woman first appeared, she said that this was the lair of the 3rd pagoda cannon. Presumably, the other 2 bases of the pagoda cannon had also been attacked by the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters. As for why there was no news, the old man was not confused at all. It would be strange if news of the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters attacking together had spread. However, looking at the current situation, the injured heaven-blessed dojo master had decided to attack his main fae, the scorching roaring dragon, alone. Under the old man's perception, the heaven-blessed dojo master discovered that his strength had just evolved from a creation breed to an immortal breed. His immortal body was only at first refinement. The old man believed that with the support of his sacred source life form, the scorching roaring dragon might be able to kill the heaven-blessed dojo master. With that in mind, the old man shouted at Shueshua, Bai Feng, and Lan Lian. Let's make a bet. If I defeat this heaven-blessed dojo master with the bloodline of the Sky Corona Jade Spider, I won't hurt him, and you'll let me live. Bai Feng was speechless when she heard the old man's words. Old thing, let's not talk about whether or not you can defeat my brother. Even if my brother falls into a disadvantageous position, do you think I and this iron lady beside me are joking? As soon as Bai Feng finished speaking, she felt a strong gust of wind rushing towards her face. Bai Feng reached out and caught a tomato out of habit. He picked up the tomato and put it into his mouth with a smile on his face. I've cheated a tomato. Lan Lian was infuriated. At this moment, Lan Lian's expression was still relaxed. He recalled the exclusive skill that Shueshua had obtained when he had completely activated the celestial jade spider bloodline after advancing to an immortal species. Lan Lian felt that it would take at most 3 minutes for this chaotic sea region to completely return to peace. The old man was enraged when he heard Bai Feng's words. His anger was mixed with hysterical despair. This anger didn't just come from the ridicule in Bai Feng's words. It was because the old man knew that he had fallen into a predicament where he would surely die today. Under this predicament, he had no hope of seeing the activation of the hibernating one. It was also impossible for them to witness the true revival of the world of spiritual energy under the guidance of the pagoda cannon. The old man, who knew he was going to die, calmed down after his anger and despair. The old man looked straight at Shueshua and said in a hoarse voice, "What the blessed dojo has done today is no different from declaring war on the pagoda cannon." The old man placed his hand on his chest and looked at the crimson pagoda mark on his robe. Immediately after, a cup burning with raging flames appeared in the old man's hand. The old man chanted, "The cup of fire, ignite the flames of the heavens with the power of lava. Burn your body, scorching world drake." As the old man chanted, the entire world seemed to become a part of the cup of fire in an instant. The power of lava at the bottom of the sea boiled violently. The power of lava formed a stream that rushed up from the bottom of the sea and poured into the cup of fire. As the power of lava poured into the goblet of fire, the entire sky was set ablaze. The world was filled with burning clouds of fire. The clouds of fire scattered flames like rain. These flocculent flames caused the temperature between heaven and earth to suddenly reach a peak. Under this intense temperature, the sea level dropped at a speed visible to the naked eye. After activating its immortal body, the Scorching World Drake held the Dragonbone Spear upside down. The aura of the Scorching World Drake and the Dragonbone Spear merged into one. After activating its immortal body, the Scorching World Drake performed Spirit Return and entered its most powerful battle form. At this moment, the body of the Scorching World Drake that was burning the world grew several dragon bones that broke through its flesh. These dragon bones were extremely sharp and were surrounded by a high temperature that could burn everything. The cold light that flickered at the tips of the bones manifested the lethality of these protruding dragon bones. ABC. Chapter 1174. The blazing aurochs did not engage in close combat with Shueshua immediately. Instead, it coordinated with the sacred source life form, the Goblet of Fire, and directed the flames to attack Shueshua. This seemingly perfunctory attack was the blazing aurochs' attempt to test Shueshua's strength. The blazing aurochs had never come into contact with a heaven-blessed spirit before, let alone fight one. Hence, the blazing aurochs were unconvinced by Biyao, who was a level 3 immortal. Moreover, Shueshua had just become an immortal species. However, the caution of a contractor forced the blazing aurochs to be cautious. Shueshua did not move when he saw the flames flying towards him. Shueshua's eyes were filled with endless sorrow and remembrance as he watched the burning world. The day his daughter was born, the day before the Jade Gui died, was the happiest day of his life. The Jade Gui that gave birth had set the world ablaze. When Shueshua saw the same beautiful scene again, it was filled with sorrow and sorrow. He thought of his daughter, whose fate was unknown, and his wife, who had died at the hands of the 5 pages of truth. The sorrow and remembrance in Shueshua's eyes instantly turned into determination. I thought everyone in the Tower Canon would be familiar with the uniqueness of the Celestial Corona Jade Spider's bloodline. Playing with fire in front of the Celestial Corona Jade Spider's bloodline, you overestimate yourself. Sundial, Extreme Young Fire, Celestial Corona Jade Robe. When Shueshua shouted the words Celestial Corona Jade Robe, the setting sun in the sky shone with dazzling light. It was unknown if the sun had absorbed the light from the fire clouds, or if the light from the sun had covered the fire clouds and dimmed them. In short, only the rising sun shone with a jade-like luster. The jade-like flames formed a robe that covered Shueshua's body. At this moment, all the flames in the sky, including the sacred source lifeform's Goblet of Fire, flew towards the Celestial Corona Jade Robe on Shueshua's body. The Celestial Corona Jade Robe greedily absorbed all the hot flames and became more solid. Shueshua pointed at the spot between his eyebrows. In an instant, a bright red spot appeared on his forehead. Shueshua, who wore a jade robe and had blood on his forehead, walked toward the old man and the blazing world-roaring dragon in a leisurely manner. No one knew if it was because the bright red color between Shueshua's eyebrows was too soul-stirring, or if the jade-clothed Shueshua was like a sun god descending to the mortal world. With every step that Shueshua took, the pressure that the old man and the scorching world Oregon had to endure increased. The blazing world-roaring dragon could no longer endure the pressure that Shueshua was exerting on it. It suddenly attacked Shueshua. As soon as the heavy fist, which was covered with bone spikes, touched Shueshua's Sky Gui Jade Robe, the left arm of the dragon, which had activated its immortal body and entered the soul return state, was burned into nothingness by the robe. Shueshua looked at the scorching world-roaring dragon in front of him and said, "The temperature of the Celestial Corona Jade Robe is the temperature of the sun's surface. A main dragon species Fae that hasn't even condensed a dragon ball has to fear the sun even if it knows how to play with fire." As he spoke, Shueshua spread his arms and embraced the blazing world-roaring dragon. Shueshua did not loosen his hold on the blazing world-roaring dragon no matter how it struggled in his arms. After a while, there was only an immortal body left in Shueshua's arms. The dragon on the immortal body was the blazing world-roaring dragon's original appearance. The immortal body was constantly changing its shape, switching back and forth between the Blazing World Roaring Dragon's fourth phase immortal body and the Blazing World Roaring Dragon's immortal body. Shueisha casually stored the Blazing World Roaring Dragon's immortal body into the diamond phase storage box. Then, he waved his hand, and the Sky Gui jade robe separated into a ribbon. It wrapped around the old man, who was holding the cup of fire and had just summoned 2 creation breed phase. Shueisha tossed the cracked cup of fire in his hand. The remnant of a 6-star sacred source lifeform was considered a good item. Shueisha secretly looked forward to it. If my daughter hadn't died, Sister Ziqing could have forged the remains of the 6-star sacred source lifeform, the Goblet of Fire, into a precious artifact for my daughter. Blue Lotus eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at Shueisha, who stood shoulder to shoulder with the setting sun. Blue Lotus seemed to see the orange-haired woman who always had a smile on her face, a smile brighter than the sun. Baifeng just stared at Shueisha with her mouth wide open and kept muttering. Hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her. Everything was as Blue Lotus had expected. Within 3 minutes, the sea region that had been bustling for a long time had calmed down. The only difference from before was that a romantic island had disappeared from this part of the sea. Blue Lotus, who continued to rush toward the Radiance Federation, slowly recovered from the excitement of destroying the 3 pagoda lairs. She suddenly remembered that Big Sister Ziqing had said, "If someone is looking for trouble, don't be afraid." What if they were to look for trouble now? However, even if they took the initiative to look for trouble, Blue Lotus felt that Big Sister Ziqing would not blame them. When Shueisha had said he wanted to go on a mission and Big Sister Ziqing had agreed. Big Sister Ziqing must have thought of this scene. As the big sister of the heaven-blessed mansion, Big Sister Ziqing had always been calm and could suppress things. Apart from Shueisha, the one who wanted to take revenge for Yugui the most was probably Big Sister Ziqing. Others might not know, but Blue Lotus knew that after Yugui had died, Big Sister Ziqing had left the heaven-blessed mansion once. When she had returned, she had been seriously injured and had only recovered not long before Shueisha had become an immortal. Blue Lotus did not know what Big Sister Ziqing had done, but she was sure that it had something to do with the pagoda cannon. Suddenly, Blue Lotus frowned. Crimson Page? What the hell is Crimson Page? Shouldn't the 8 pagodas in the pagoda cannon be the Tower of Destiny, the Tower of Revival, the Tower of Eternal Sin, the Tower of Instant Destruction, the Tower of Truth, the Tower of Whipping, the Tower of War, and the Tower of Decay? The page of the pagoda cannon should be the Destiny Page. When did the Tower of Destiny become the Crimson Tower? The Destiny Page became the Crimson Page? Blue Lotus was very clear about the nature of the pagoda cannon. Every leader and chanter of the pagodas in the pagoda canon had supreme faith in the pagodas. Therefore, it was impossible for the leader and chanter to remember the names of the pagodas and leaders they were in. Therefore, Blue Lotus firmly remembered the Crimson Tower and the Crimson Page in her heart. She planned to ask Big Sister Ziqing when she returned to the heaven-blessed mansion and see if she knew what was going on. After traveling for almost an hour, Baifeng suddenly slapped Shueisha's back excitedly and laughed heartily. "Brother, you have obtained the exclusive skill, Heavenly Phantom Jade Robe, after advancing to an immortal species. You usually look serious, but I didn't expect you to be even more flirtatious than me." Shueisha was startled by Baifeng's sudden slap and started coughing. He looked at Baifeng in confusion and felt that she was not very smart. Also, what was the flirtatious that Baifeng mentioned? Was there really someone in this world who was more flirtatious than Baifeng? If you like this book, please come to the main QQ reading site to support the original version. Requesting for a full subscription. Recently, there has been a lot of good stuff in these few chapters. Everyone, please read it carefully. Also, please request for recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, full subscription, and tips. Button writes late into the night and is extremely diligent. Recently, the map has changed, and the results have dropped drastically. Sob, 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 sob. I hope everyone can support Button. End of this chapter. Chapter 1175. Upon seeing that Bai Feng was being stupid again, Lan Lian threw 7 tomatoes at her. 5 of them were caught by Bai Feng, while 1 was caught by her mouth. Bai Feng simply did not have the space to catch the 7th tomato, so she could only watch the tomato hit her face and blossom. Thinking that they were going to the Radiance Federation this time, Lan Lian assumed the posture of a big sister in the team. The 3 of us should report to Zhao Xia and Night Leaning Moon before going to the Radiance Federation this time. Along the way, we've also heard the news that the Azure Federation's 2 Azure Envoys brought sequence 90 to 100 Azure 100 out of the Radiance Federation. In this case, it's fine if we don't get into trouble when we go to the Radiance Federation's territory. If we get into trouble, even if we're the blessed spirits of the undying species, as the Hall Masters of the Heavens blessed dojo, the Radiance Federation will not give us any face. Upon hearing that, Shueshua nodded and recalled that the Moon Empress and Chief Guard Yi had helped Yugui. Although he had not been able to save Yugui's life, Shueshua still had a grateful look on his face. Bai Feng had also used her tongue to clean the tomato sauce on her face. Upon seeing Lan Lian's serious face, Bai Feng said smugly, "What trouble can we get into?" "What kind of trouble can we get into? If the people in the Radiance Federation don't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't take the initiative to cause trouble. But if they provoke me, I can't swallow my anger." Upon hearing that, Lan Lian looked at Bai Feng speechlessly as though she was looking at a fool. "Then when we reach the Radiance Federation, let's split into 2 teams and act separately. I'll be in one team with Shueshua, and you'll be in the other team. The Radiance Federation has 7 stabilizing weapons. If you're not afraid, go ahead and show off. If something happens, don't look for Shueshua and me. We don't have any face in the Radiance Federation." Upon hearing Lan Lian's words, Bai Feng wanted to refute, but she thought of the Radiance Federation's legendary 7 stabilizing weapons. She subconsciously shrank her neck and did not dare to be naughty anymore. While the immortal battle was happening on the island, Luo Ye's maiden heart, which had not been stirred for almost 10 years, was once again stirred. As a noble lady from a Class 2 Creation Master family, anyone in the town would have to bow and address her as Mississippi. Growing up in such an environment, Luo Ye didn't believe in love at all, let alone love at first sight. But this person is like a rainbow. When he meets the sky, he will know that he is there. At this moment, looking at the boy running towards her, Luoya believed in the so-called love at first sight. At first glance, Roya's eyes couldn't move away from the figure that was running towards her. Colorful fireworks ignited in Luoya's heart. This made Roja feel a throbbing from the depths of her soul. The young man was in a sorry state. His clothes had been cut open for some reason. It was also covered with sticky mud, which had now completely dried up. As the young man ran, his clothes would be pulled, and the dried mud would be crushed. The youth's face was also covered in mud. However, even though the young man was in such a sorry state, he still faintly exuded a refreshing aura. It was like a small white poplar bathed in the sun. Not only that, but with Luoya's eyesight, she could tell at a glance that the youth's clothes were extraordinary. The jewels hanging from the youth's torn spirit chi clothes were produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Such jewels weren't cheap in the Divine Wood Federation. Just from the clothes, Luoya could determine that this youth was a noble like her. Luoya thought that she wouldn't be able to control the desire in her heart and would treat the youth like other playthings in the past. However, apart from the love at first sight, Luoya's desire was completely suppressed at the bottom of her heart. The beautiful throbbing made Luoya shy, and she subconsciously tugged at her clothes. She shook the purple fur cloak that symbolized wealth that was draped over her body. The Dry Cliff Bandits leader, Fu Di, was also startled when he saw Lin Yuan. From the color of Lin Yuan's hair and eyes, Fu Di could determine that the youth in front of him was from the Deep Lush Federation. The Deep Lush Federation was a federation with a commercial civilization, and there were many rules that needed to be secretly followed. One of the rules was that within a region, as long as the Deep Lush Federation's caravans were stationed to hold a gathering and trade goods, the other Deep Lush Federation's caravans couldn't stay here and compete for resources. It could be said that 99% of the people from the Deep Lush Federation that appeared in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territory were members of the caravans. Of course, there were always exceptions. The Deep Lush Federation, which was a federation with a commercial pillar, also had some mysterious reclusive clans. It was rumored that the reclusive clans controlled immeasurable wealth. When the Deep Lush Federation's reclusive clans' descendants were young, they would choose to train in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territories. The reclusive clan's descendants that went out to train would often have powerful retainers following them to deal with any possible emergencies. As the leader of the Dry Cliff Bandits, Fu Di could definitely be considered an experienced adventurer. Even if he hadn't been to this forest before, just based on the strength of the fays he encountered, Fu Di could determine that there wouldn't be any overly powerful fays in this forest. Otherwise, they would have been attacked by powerful fays if they swaggered around in the forest. Fu Di had been searching for good goods for Luoya all these years. Therefore, Fu Di understood Luoya's preferences the best. The youth in front of him had dirt on his face, and he couldn't see his appearance clearly. However, the youth gave off a feeling that Luoya definitely liked. Fu Di was certain that after wiping the youth's face clean, as long as the youth wasn't ugly, Luoya would definitely love him. If Luoya was happy, she or the other members of the Dry Cliff Bandits might be able to obtain some Creation Master resources. This way, the overall strength of the Dry Cliff Bandits would be enhanced. Fu Di originally wanted to ask 2 members of the bandits to capture the youth. However, Fu Di then thought about it. If he personally brought the youth over, it was possible that Luoya would be happy and generously give him some rewards. Selfishly, Fu Di took a step forward and yelled at Lin Yuan. "Kid, get over here. You are from the Deep Lush Federation's caravan, right?" Just as Fu Di shouted, he heard Luoya say angrily to him, "What are you shouting for? Be civilized. What kind of manners are you shouting?" After hearing Luoya's words, Fu Di was confused. "Big sister, your voice is much louder than mine just now. Also, when did Big sister talk about manners?" Under the watchful eyes of the 300-meter bandits, "Big sister, you have had a lot of fun too." Immediately after, Fu Di saw Luoya's face blushing as she stepped forward and spoke to the youth who had stopped. ABC. Chapter 1176. Big brother, come over here. Big brother, come over here. While speaking, Luoya took out a silk handkerchief and handed it to him from afar. She said even more shyly, "We have water here. Big brother, wipe your face with the handkerchief first. Don't be afraid. I am from Nanmu City's 2-star family, the Luo family. If you encounter any trouble, you can tell me directly. I might be able to help you." Luoya's delicate voice sounded. He subconsciously thought of Wang Fuxiang. Her voice is too coquettish. Then he thought of what the 5 Dry Cliff Bandits had said. Lin Yuan felt that Luoya's current state was somewhat different from what the 5 scouts had said. While he was thinking, the jaws of the 300 Dry Cliff Bandits, including Fu Di, almost dropped to the ground. Because in their impression, they didn't remember when Rojas spoke to someone in such a tone. However, Fu Di's brows immediately furrowed. He looked at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated gaze, which was then filled with determined killing intent. Fu Di was ambitious and rather courageous. However, the Dry Cliff Bandits had been developing for many years, and they could only barely maintain their level. This was because no matter how hard Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits worked, they wouldn't be able to increase their combat power significantly without the resources of Creation Masters. It was possible to find Creation Masters to help with Radiance dollars and spiritual ingredients in the Radiance Federation. However, Creation Masters were absolute nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. If you took the deep Brahman dollars and spiritual ingredients to find a Creation Master for help, they wouldn't just refuse to help without any connections. They might even steal the deep Sanskrit coins and spirit materials you've brought with you. The Dry Cliff Bandits' current development was all because Fu Di had met Luoya and obtained Creation Master resources from her. Therefore, no matter what, Fu Di had to tie Luoya to the Dry Cliff Bandits' war chariot. Fu Di had always been very confident about this. This was because Fu Di knew that Luoya was a playboy. He just had to constantly find new stimuli for Luoya according to her preferences. Luoya would always stay in the Dry Cliff Bandits and occasionally pour some Creation Master resources into the Dry Cliff Bandits when she was in a good mood. But now, there was a player who didn't play by the rules and suddenly shyly played with feelings. To put it simply, Roja didn't need any new stimulation. This situation will make him and the Dry Cliff Bandits lose their role in Roja's hands. In the worst-case scenario, Luoya might be waiting for the youth from the Deep Fanatic Federation to leave before leaving with him. When that time came, the Dry Cliff Bandits would return to their previous state of not having any Creation Master resources. Fu Di had thought things through clearly, but it wasn't easy to put them into practice. Fu Di felt that if he rashly killed the youth in front of him, Luoya would definitely not be willing. Luoya's main fei, the Mist Anti-Poison Moth, was Gold 7/Flawless. Fu Di's main fei, the Flesh-Devouring Vine, was only Gold 7/Elite. Although the Devouring Vines and the Mist Anti-Poison Moths were of the same level, there was a difference in quality. Looking at the shyness in Luoya's eyes, as well as the inexplicable affection, Lin Yun couldn't help but laugh. Fu Di was sure that as long as he made a move against this youth, Roja wouldn't hesitate to attack him and the 300 brothers behind him. Fu Di prayed that after the youth wiped his face, he would reveal a beehive garlic nose, purple lips, and triangular eyes. His face would also be covered with spots and bumps. However, this thought was completely shattered in Fu Di's mind in less than 5 seconds. After wiping away the mud, the youth's face was clean and fair, with distinct edges. He had thick eyebrows and long eyelashes, and his eyes were bright and full of expression. It was as if a bottomless pool was brewing in his bright and piercing eyes. While the youth's temperament was gentle, it also carried a very high-level mystery. The flawless nose on the youth's face increased the charm of his eyes by at least 30%. Seeing that Roja was so shy that she lowered her head and didn't dare to look at the youth, the killing intent in Fu Di's eyes intensified. He tried his best to resist the urge to attack the youth. The rest of the Dry Cliff Bandits weren't fools. They naturally knew that the current development of the Dry Cliff Bandits was all due to Roja's Creation Master resources. Lin Yuan's appearance gave everyone the same sense of crisis as Fu Di. Roja's back was facing Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits, so she couldn't see their eyes. However, Lin Yuan could see it clearly. The corners of Lin Yuan's mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. He glanced at Fu Di and the bandits behind him. He opened his mouth and thanked Roja in a clear voice. Roja's current situation made Lin Yuan adjust his original plan at the right time. Originally, Lin Yuan only wanted to use Roja and the others to establish a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Then, he would capture Roja and bring her to the underground palace and use any possible means to get the information he needed from her. He would also get rid of the information and understand the Divine Wood Federation's situation in a real sense from the natives. However, Lin Yuan now felt that it was more useful to leave Roja outside than to capture her and bring her back to the Forbidden Area. Roja came from a 2-star family in the Divine Wood Federation's Nanma City. She definitely had a transcendent status in Nanma City. Through Roja's relationship, it might be easier for him to obtain spatial spiritual materials than through the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Yuan had decided to give up on establishing a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Lin Yuan planned to use both sides of the relationship. Luoya had been communicating with Lin Yuan as the young lady of Nanmu City's 2-star family. He didn't even mention that he was the vice commander of the Dry Cliff Bandits, as if he wanted to draw a clear line between himself and the Dry Cliff Bandits. The sense of urgency in Fu Di's heart grew stronger. Fu Di stepped forward and said to Luoya, "Miss Luoya, the purpose of our Withered Cliff Caravan's trip this time is to obtain some metals, spirit materials, and furs from the Iron Hammer Federation. This little brother is obviously from the Deep Burn Federation. Miss, can you ask this little brother if he knows where the Deep Burn Federation's caravan is? That saves us the trouble of searching everywhere." When Fu Di came forward to talk, Luoya immediately became nervous. Even if the people of the Deep Lush Federation weren't merchants, there wasn't a single person who didn't hate the bandits. Bandits were different from bandit groups. Bandit groups mainly looted resources. After accomplishing their goal, they wouldn't kill the members of the Deep Burn Federation's caravans. However, the bandits were different. Luoya could no longer remember how much blood the Dry Cliff bandits had stained their hands. However, when Luoya heard Fu Di refer to the Dry Cliff bandits as the Dry Cliff Caravan, her expression relaxed. Luoya's expression relaxed, and she gave Fu Di an appreciative look. Then, she took out a bottle of spirit liquid and threw it to Fu Di. End of this chapter. Chapter 1177. Upon seeing the bottle of dark red spirit liquid that Luoya gave him, Fu Di revealed an ecstatic expression. He did not know how long he had begged Luoya for this bottle of spirit liquid. Luoya had always held this bottle of spirit liquid in her hand and had no intention of giving it to him. However, because he had mediated, Luoya had given him this bottle of spirit liquid. With this bottle of spirit liquid, Fu Di's main fei, the flesh-devouring vine, could also be upgraded to flawless, just like Luoya's mist anti-poison moth. While pleasantly surprised, Fu Di's heart was also more worried. Such a generous reward showed that Luoya cared about the youth in front of her. Luoya was afraid that the youth would find out about her identity as the Dry Cliff Bandits' deputy commander, which would arouse his disgust. This also showed that Luoya was not playing around this time. She was serious. While Fu Di was pondering, he heard the youth's clear voice. A Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift opened up ahead, and I saw a Class 3 spiky beetle. In the dimensional rift, I got separated from my retainer. I am not from the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, but I know that there is a small caravan that is holding a gathering more than 100 kilometers north. As he spoke, he no longer tried to restrain his aura like before. When he relaxed and restrained his aura, Luoya suddenly felt that the youth in front of her had an indescribable noble aura. This kind of noble aura could only be cultivated by those who were truly held up to the clouds. Luoya had only seen such a noble aura in the Divine Wood Federation's main city's Class 3 or Class 4 family members. After this touch of noble aura was revealed from the youth's body, the gems produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift on the youth's clothes seemed to have turned into clay. They were completely suppressed by the youth's aura. It was like placing a piece of fluorite next to a slate, and one could easily feel the fluorite's luster. However, if the slate was moved away and replaced with a piece of glass-type jade, in comparison, the fluorite would become dim. Luoya was even more fascinated by Lin Yuan's noble aura. In fact, Lin Yuan had deliberately released a few layers of his aura because he felt that since he wanted to build a relationship with Luoya, he had to show the corresponding foundation. Only by taking out the corresponding foundation could Luoya ignore other factors. He was still willing to trade with him sincerely. After Lin Yuan pointed the way, Fu Di gritted his teeth and led the 300-meter brothers toward the Deep Lush Federation's caravan. Luoya originally wanted to invite Lin Yuan to call them banana wood elephants. But when he saw the banana wood elephant throwing out brown objects from its tail from time to time, he hurriedly rejected Luoya's invitation. This banana tree elephant had just been fed by the Dry Cliff bandits, so there was no space left in its stomach. He was in a hurry to pour it into his stomach. If one were to ride on the back of a banana tree elephant, with the digestion speed of the elephant, the smell would definitely not dissipate. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had rejected its request to ride with it, it could sense the disdain in Lin Yuan's eyes toward the banana wood elephant. Roha directly commanded 3 members of the Dry Cliff bandits to lead the banana tree elephant to the back of the group. The banana wood elephant was now a silver X/elite Fey and was just a step away from reaching gold. Since Lin Yuan was so disgusted with the banana tree elephant, it was clear that he looked down on it. This made Luoya even more convinced that Lin Yuan's foundation was extraordinary. Luoya thought to herself, if Lin Yuan is an ordinary person in the Deep Enlightenment Federation, the old man at home will never allow me to marry him. But if Lin Yuan is a person with a foundation, then the snobbish old man at home might not be so opposed. At the thought of this, Luoya's heart suddenly tightened. A thought appeared in her mind. What if Lin Yuan's family was more powerful than the two-star family that she was in? At the thought of this, Luoya felt that she should treat Lin Yuan better. After walking for less than an hour, Fu Di had sent at least 2 people to deliver food to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan did not reject it. It was not that Lin Yuan looked down on Fu Di, but the Princess Luoya's vicious venom law had already reached Myth 3. With the protection of the Myth 3 vicious venom law, even if a platinum venom-type Fey bit him, he would only suffer some superficial wounds. At most, Lin Yuan would suffer some superficial wounds. After eating the 2 pieces of bread that she had put the bronze intestine-severing stone garlic's juice, he did not die from the pain in his stomach. He was still chatting and laughing with Luoya, as if nothing had happened. In the team, Fu Di fiercely threw the bottle in his hand on the ground and cursed softly. "Fuck. When I go back, I'll burn your store. I'll beat you half to death. You dog. It's fine that you usually sell my hemostasis medicine with shoddy goods and cheat me of my money. You're too damn black-hearted, but you're selling fake poisons." The more Fu Di thought about it, the angrier he got. He took out another piece of bread and put jam in it. Then, he steeled his heart and said to the vice-captain beside him, who was in charge of the Dry Cliff Bandit supplies. "Thunder, take out the tail of the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion we got." Upon hearing that, the burly man called Thunder by Fu Di took out a walnut-shaped fruit. He threw the walnut-shaped fruit on the ground, and a large pile of messy supplies appeared on the ground. Upon seeing this, Luoya, who was walking in front of the team, said with dissatisfaction, "Fu Di, what are you doing? I didn't give you a walnut for you to use like this. The storage ability of the bronze walnut tree's walnut storage ability will disappear after 10 uses. Don't tell me you don't know this common sense." Hearing Luoya's words, Fu Di hurriedly smiled. "I need to pick some materials and trade them with the Deep Vendor Federation's Merchant Guild for hides and metals." When Luoya heard this, she immediately felt that she had wronged Fu Di. After thinking for a moment, Luoya threw a bottle of spiritual liquid at Fu Di and said, "I concocted this bottle of spirit fluid myself. It can upgrade a pinnacle bronze Fey to silver. If you don't need it, just watch and see how it's distributed." Holding the spirit liquid that Luoya threw over, Fu Di wasn't happy. Instead, a vicious look appeared on his face. Fu Di's words were mainly to see if Luoya had made up her mind to let the Withered Cliff bandits disguise themselves as the Withered Cliff Caravan and give up on robbing the Deep Cult Federation's caravan. As expected, Luoya gave up. Fu Di, who was on the road again, took the rotten blood hook scorpion's tail and squeezed the venom into the bread's jam without leaving a trace. Fu Di sneered in his heart. "Kid, you were lucky to eat a fake poison. This time, I'll let you eat the venom from the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion's tail. Let's see if you will die." Chapter 1178. Fu Di was afraid that Lin Yuan would smell the faint fishy smell of the rotten blood hook scorpion's venom in the jam, so he added 2 more spoonfuls of jam to the bread. Fu Di quickly walked to Lin Yuan's side while holding the bread with added ingredients. He grinned and said very politely to Lin Yuan, "Brother, I wonder how long it will take for us to trade with the Deepream caravan when we reach our destination. This time, we, the Dry Cliff Bandits, the Chamber of Commerce has prepared a lot of resources. I'm sure we won't be able to finish all of them by nightfall. Have another piece of bread. I won't be hungry at night. I've added a lot of jam from Nanmu City into this bread. I guarantee it'll be delicious." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di playfully. Lin Yuan's eyes alarmed Fu Di, and he subconsciously thought that Lin Yuan had discovered something fishy about the bread. Before Fu Di could figure out what the problem was, a voice suddenly rang out. Immediately after, Fu Di's entire face turned black. "Roha," he said that there was a lot of jam in the bread. "Do you want another one?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Fu Di subconsciously withdrew the bread that he was about to hand to Lin Yuan. The 2-star Luo family knew that Luoya was with the Withered Cliff bandits. If Roha was poisoned to death, it would be his bread. the Luo clan would definitely find him and pull out his tendons and bones. With the power and connections of a two-star family like the Luo family, there was no place for him, a leader of a small bandit group, to hide. If the Luo family placed a bounty for creation master resources on him, the Dry Cliff bandits might even sell him out. Unlike Fu Di's panic and worry, when Luoya heard Lin Yuan ask if she wanted to eat another piece of bread, she only felt that she had received Lin Yuan's concern. His heart was filled with sweetness, as if a ball of soft honey had flowed into his heart. However, Luoya had already eaten a piece of bread. If she continued to eat, she was afraid that Lin Yuan would think that she was a foodie. In order to maintain the image of a lady, Luoya shook her head and said shyly, "Little brother, my stomach is very small, I don't want to eat anymore." Seeing Luoya shake her head in rejection, Fu Di's expression softened. Lin Yuan didn't intend to tease Fu Di anymore and took the bread from him. Under Fu Di's expectant gaze, he began to eat. At that moment, Lin Yuan was not in the mood to act with Fu Di. This was because Lin Yuan's mind was completely focused on the walnut that Fu Di had just taken out. The object-holding walnut was a kind of spatial spirit material, even though it didn't contain much spatial energy. However, if there were enough walnuts, it would be possible to support his travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. He had just seen the function of the storage walnut. It was a very clumsy storage item. Since the Dry Cliff bandits could afford such a clumsy storage item, Lin Yuan felt that it would not be rare in the Divine Wood Federation. In addition, when he had just eaten the 2 pieces of bread, he had clearly felt that poisonous substances had been added into them. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the vicious poison law allowed him to resist poison. If they ate a meal with poisonous substances, they would feel that the food with poisonous substances was more delicious. He had eaten this bread to verify his conjecture. As a result, Lin Yuan found that it was really the case. Apart from the sweetness and sourness of the jam and the fragrance of the wheat cake, this bread also had a special fragrance. It gave Lin Yuan the feeling of eating crispy chicken-flavored fried scorpions. While eating the bread, Lin Yuan pretended to casually ask Luoya, who was beside him, "Are the object-holding walnuts you mentioned sold in Nanma City?" Luoya's eyes lit up when she heard that. Lin Yuan had asked her if there were any object-holding walnuts for sale in Nanma City. This meant that Lin Yuan probably had plans to go to Nanma City. However, Luoya was immediately puzzled. Not to mention Nanma City, which had a 3-star family clan, had object-holding walnuts. Even in those small towns with only 1-star clans, there were some of them. The puzzled Luoya's heart stirred. Could it be that Lin Yuan didn't know anything about the Divine Wood Federation? If that was the case, Luoya felt that Lin Yuan was more likely to be a descendant of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan. When ordinary youths in the Deep Brahmin Federation were 11 or 12 years old, they would follow caravans and travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. In such an environment, even a fool would not know about the object-holding walnuts. Only the descendants of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clans would receive elite education from their clans from a young age. They would learn abilities and nurture their bearing. For example, social experience and common sense were all mastered in a short period of time after coming out to train. The more Luoya thought about it, the more she felt that she had seen through the truth. Luoya decided to test Lin Yuan. Luoya first answered Lin Yuan's question. Nanma City's auction house often has silver object-holding walnuts for auction. Occasionally, gold object-holding walnuts will appear. As for bronze object-holding walnuts, as long as you know a Class 1 creation master in Nanma City, you will be able to obtain them easily. It just so happens that I am a Class 1 creation master. I don't have any object-holding walnuts on hand, but I have 7 or 8 object-holding walnut trees at home. If you want object-holding walnuts, I will go back and nurture them, and I will be able to get plenty. When you visit Nanmu City as a guest, I will give you 10. Luoya immediately pointed out her identity as a Class 1 creation master and expressed her goodwill to Lin Yuan. She then changed the topic and asked, "That's right. You said that you and your retainer got separated because of the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. Could your Fae have been injured by the alien insect's attack? If it was injured, I can help your Fae to heal it now. Lin Yuan shook his head in response. I didn't summon my Fae at that time. My Fae doesn't have any combat ability, so it is useless to summon it. When Lin Yuan answered Luo Ye's question, his mind was no longer thinking about object holding walnuts. Instead, he was thinking about the object holding walnut tree that could produce object holding walnuts. Lin Yuan had never seen a plant-type object holding walnut tree before, so he wasn't sure what kind of conditions the object holding walnut tree had to meet in order to produce object holding walnuts. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan would still need to think of a solution. However, Lin Yuan now had Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian, who were Class 4 creation masters. In addition, when Genius executed its abilities, it also had the ability to become a Class 4 creation master. With 4 Class 4 creation masters and the 100 Questions Beast Legion, after obtaining the walnut tree, they would soon be able to harvest a large number of walnuts. If the walnut tree was easy to split and cultivate, he could even cultivate a small walnut forest. Upon hearing that, Luo Ye's eyes turned and she asked softly in a very expectant tone. Your Fae isn't adept at combat, so it must be a support type or healing type Fae. Big brother, I want to take a look at your Fae. Can I? I can't take it anymore. My body is really uncomfortable. Tomorrow, during the day, it would be even more troublesome. Good night, everyone. End of chapter. Chapter 1179. When Lin Yuan heard Luo Ye's words, he couldn't help but raise his brows. Luo Ye's expression was shy and expectant, as though she had not asked to see the Fae but something else. In the past, if someone wanted to see his Fae, Lin Yuan would definitely not agree. It was even more impossible to summon his Fae. However, since Lin Yuan had decided to establish a relationship with Luo Ye, it was fine to summon the Fae to show his foundation. However, he did not know which one he should summon since he had so many Faes. After all, Lin Yuan had a few Faes that matched the healing type and support type without combat ability. Lin Yuan, who was in deep thought, did not slow down or immediately summon the Fae. Luo Ye did not feel anything about Lin Yuan's actions. Luo Ye had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble. If he was not a noble, he would not be able to wear this attire, let alone have such an aura. Each gem produced in Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rifts was worth about 30 deep Brahman dollars. The difference in prices of gems of different colors would not be much, and it would only fluctuate within 10 deep Brahman dollars. Lin Yuan's clothes were covered in mud, and the material could not be seen. However, there were at least 40 to 50 gems embedded in it. In total, the cost of the gems used to make this garment was around 1,200 to 1,500 Brahman coins. Therefore, if this spirit chi clothing was sold in a store, it would be sold for at least 2,000 deep Brahman dollars. Luo Ye could also afford to wear such clothes. However, if the clothes were damaged like this because of an accident, Luo Ye would definitely be reluctant. After observing along the way, Luo Ye found that Lin Yuan did not show any reluctance because of the damaged clothes. It was as though the damaged clothes were not worth mentioning to Lin Yuan. Luo Ye had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble, but she still wanted to see his Fae. The reason was that Luo Ye wanted to use Lin Yuan's Fae to determine his noble status. If Lin Yuan was really a disciple of a hidden clan that had come out to train, then his contracted Fae would definitely be very outstanding. After Lin Yuan ate the bread smeared with the venom from the gold carrion scorpion's tail, Fudi's mentality was completely relaxed. The carrion scorpion's poison was a kind of chronic poison, and it would first destroy the poisoned person's nerves, so that the poisoned person would not discover that he had been poisoned because of physical discomfort. Depending on the strength of the victim's constitution, the poison of an ordinary gold-rank carrion scorpion would take effect within 2 to 3 hours. Since he was using the peak gold-rank carrion scorpion venom, the time for the venom to take effect would be reduced to 2 hours. 2 hours was enough for the army to reach the Deep Vendor Federation's caravan. After the poison took effect, Lin Yuan would turn into a pile of rotten flesh, and his entire body would emit a foul smell. There were many people at the gathering organized by the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, and there were also plenty of spirit chi professionals from the Iron Hammer Federation. Given Luo Ye's character and temper, she would definitely take revenge for the person she fancied. However, given Fu Di's understanding of Luo Ye, she would definitely not personally check on his body that had turned into rotten flesh. There was a high chance that Roha would assign him to this job. Once he was done with the investigation, he could naturally push the blame to the Deep Lush Federation's caravans or the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. Driven by anger, Luo Ye would immediately kill the Deep Lush Federation's caravans and the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. At that time, he would only need to put in more effort to take revenge for Lin Yuan, and not only would he not be suspected by Luo Ye, he might even receive some rewards from Luo Ye. Without Lin Yuan, Luo Ye would probably take back her heart and would no longer leave the Dry Cliff Bandit King team. After making up his mind, Fu Di looked at Lin Yuan and felt that he was no different from a dead person. However, when he saw Luo Ye's request to see his Fei, Lin Yuan seemed to be very hesitant. Fu Di could not help but mock. "Brother, no matter how weak your Fei is, you shouldn't be embarrassed to summon it, right? Take a look at Big Brother's Fei. If you could obtain Big Brother's protection in the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, you wouldn't be in such a sorry state like before." As he spoke, Fu Di proudly summoned his gold-ranked level 7 flesh-devouring vine. Fu Di's flesh-devouring vine was over 3 meters long, and it was a thick brownish-red vine that looked like a spirit snake. There were many suction cup-like tissues growing on the vine. These suction disc-like tissues could easily scrape flesh from the target after wrapping around it. However, when Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines, he felt that Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines were inferior to Red Thorn's gluttonous vines. The gluttonous vine could also rely on the acid in Red Thorn's body to corrode and digest flesh, while the flesh-devouring vine could only rely on brute force to scrape the flesh of its target. Even if such a phase grade was upgraded, as long as it didn't encounter a fortuitous encounter like a bloodline mutation. With a single attack method and functionality, this Fei was destined to be weak in complex environments and sudden situations. As for Fu Di's claim that with his protection, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when facing the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, it was even more nonsensical. Under the tide of alien insects accumulated in the Class 1 Dimensional Rift, Fu Di's gold/elite flesh-devouring vine might be able to kill some alien insects in the beginning. However, he was unable to effectively replenish his energy, facing the flood of alien insects that would not stop at all. The devouring vine would soon be trampled by the swarm of insects into a pile of mud. Back then, Xian Ying and Zhang Xiaobai both had gold Feis. Xian Ying's and Zhang Xiaobai's gold Feis were much stronger than Fu Di's. However, an ordinary gold Fei was so small in front of the alien insect tide. Even 20 gold Feis would be wiped out by the Class 1 alien insect tide, unless there was a power with a qualitative change that could take charge of the overall situation. For example, Spirit Guard Dong Hai's Platinum/Epic Shadow Dire Wolf. This was also why Red Thorn had been so shocking when it had spawned the Sea of Flowers to fight against the alien insect tide. Fu Di had already poisoned himself 3 times. Lin Yuan didn't intend to let Fu Di survive after this trip. Lin Yuan's disregard made Fu Di, who had a flaunting expression, look very embarrassed. When Fu Di mocked Lin Yuan, Luo Ye frowned and glared at him. No matter what, Fu Di was someone who was on the same trip as her. Fu Di's words to Lin Yuan would easily cause him to have negative emotions toward her. In order to protect her image in Lin Yuan's heart, Luo Ye hurriedly tried to smooth things over. "Your clothes are dirty, and you haven't washed them yet. Summoning the Fei will likely dirty it. Why don't you?" Just as Luo Ye was thinking of a way to smooth things over, the youth raised his hand. A white cat with many tails appeared in the youth's arms. End of this chapter. Chapter 1180. A person's preferences would often depend on their living environment. It could be said that the Divine Wood Federation's ordinary people were all silk lovers and pursued all kinds of clothing and supplies made of Fei's silk threads. The nobles, without exception, were all fur lovers. The Divine Wood Federation's nobles would often collect precious fur coats and use them to make carpets and curtains. It was just like how the Radiance Federation's members liked to place ornaments made of completely jade-textured wood at home as a facade. Luoya was also a member of the Divine Wood Federation's nobles, so she was naturally no exception. Luoya, who was a fur lover, looked at the cat with many tails in Lin Yuan's arms and couldn't help but let out a cry. Apart from wearing fur products, the Divine Wood Federation's nobles' other dream was to raise a pet with beautiful fur at home. Luoya raised a few small beasts in Nanma City. However, those small beasts could only have pure-colored fur at most, and the fur quality couldn't be compared to the cat in Lin Yuan's arms. The cat's fur was as white as the snow in the Iron Hammer Federation's north. The cat's blue eyes were even purer than expensive Paraiba tourmalines. What fascinated Luoya the most was this cat Fei's 8 long tails. Each of the 8 long tails was much longer than the cat's body, and the tails had a silk-like texture when they swayed softly. Luoya had never seen any animal's fur as soft as this cat's. After this 8-tailed snow-white cat Fei was summoned by the youth, it acted coquettishly to the youth. It used its 8 tails to gently caress the youth's spirit chi clothes that were covered with mud. The movement of the cat's tail was clearly very gentle, but it seemed to have a lot of magic. In a few moments, it cleaned up the dirt on Lin Yuan's spirit chi clothes. Upon seeing Lin Yuan's clean spirit chi clothes, Luoya immediately blushed and lowered her head. Through the opening on the spirit chi clothes, Luoya could faintly see Lin Yuan's wheat-colored skin. Lin Yuan reached out to rub Genius's small head, and Genius immediately meowed with a childish voice. After a series of choices, Lin Yuan finally decided to summon Genius. At first, Lin Yuan had chosen Blackie, Purple Firmament, and Genius. However, Blackie had a huge body and was a flying-type Fey. With Blackie around, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when encountering a Class 1-dimensional rift. The purple cloud might be a flying-type Fey, but as a butterfly that was the size of 2 palms, it was destined to be unable to carry a person. It was in line with Lin Yuan's standards. The reason he did not summon the purple cloud was that the blue flash butterfly also existed in the Divine Wood Federation. Naturally, there were also legends about the blue flash purple butterfly. It was true that Zi Xiao had evolved from the blue flash purple butterfly bloodline to the purple sky fairy butterfly bloodline. However, if someone had seen the blue flash purple butterfly's picture book, they would easily notice that the butterfly patterns on the blue flash purple butterfly's wings were very similar to the butterfly patterns on Zi Xiao's wings. However, the butterfly patterns on Purple Firmament's wings were much more beautiful than those on the blue flash purple butterfly's wings. In the end, it was best to summon Songming. Lin Yuan didn't know if the Divine Wood Federation had 100 questions beast, but there were plenty of feline fays in the entire Agaon continent. After Genius grew multiple tails, it no longer had the general characteristics of 100 questions beast. As long as Genius didn't speak, even if someone saw and possessed 100 questions beast, they wouldn't treat Genius as 100 questions beast. Genius, which was in Fu Di's embrace, was like a resounding slap to Fu Di's face. It caused Fu Di to summon the flesh-devouring vine and boast about himself to completely vanish. At the same time, Fu Di was silently rejoicing that he didn't impulsively make a move on Lin Yuan. Under Fu Di's perception, he realized that he couldn't sense the strength of the feline Fey in Lin Yuan's embrace. This meant that this feline Fey's grade and quality were at least a grade higher than his flesh-devouring vine. It also meant that the feline Fey in Lin Yuan's embrace was at least at platinum. Fu Di wasn't a creation master, and a simple inspection wouldn't be able to see Genius's quality. However, Fu Di knew that even if the feline Fey in the youth's embrace was a normal Fey, it wasn't something that his flesh-devouring vine could defeat. This feline Fey might not have any offensive ability, but as a beast, its body definitely wasn't weak. If Lin Yuan angered this feline Fey, which was at least at platinum, the feline Fey's hidden claws would be able to create 5 lacerations with a single swing. Fu Di was silently rejoicing as he looked at Lin Yuan. Hee, so what if your Fey is incredible? Anyway, I have already witnessed you eating the bread that was smeared with the gold carrion scorpion poison. You will definitely die within 2 hours. Once Lin Yuan was dead, this feline fae would also die with its owner. Fu Di was planning to use his exquisite skinning skills to remove this feline fae's fur without any damage. If he sold this feline fae's fur, it would be enough for him to eat for the rest of his life. As for the spoils of war that he was about to obtain, Fu Di was rather curious. Brother, your cat's quality isn't low. Has it reached epic? When Luoya saw Lin Yuan summon this feline fae, she firmly labeled him as a descendant of the Deep Lush Federation's hidden aristocratic clan. Genius appearance made Luoya realize that Lin Yuan's level was much higher than hers. Although Luoya wasn't sure to what extent. However, Luoya estimated that the hidden aristocratic clan that Lin Yuan was in had at least a Class 3 creation master overseeing it. After confirming Lin Yuan's identity as a hidden aristocratic clan's descendant, Luoya was happy but also very perturbed. Luoya was afraid that her Class 2 family background would become an obstacle between her and Lin Yuan. Luoya, who had grown up in Nanma City, wasn't confident about her identity for the first time. Luoya took a deep breath. It was time to show her true skills. She, a noble lady who had been fawned on since young, was going to try to be a bootlicker in order to gain Lin Yuan's favor. At the same time, Luoya had a murderous intent toward Di and the entire Dry Cliff Bandits. Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits had always been looking for toys for her and knew how unbearable she was. After confirming that she couldn't control Lin Yuan, Luoya had to do her best. She wanted to eliminate all possibilities of Lin Yuan knowing that she was unbearable. Luoya was a ruthless person, even though she had stayed in the Dry Cliff Bandits for a few years. However, everyone in the Withered Cliff Bandits, including Fu Di, were just tools in Roha's heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 1181. Upon hearing Fu Di's question, Luoya felt that her tool was simply too inexperienced. Luoya was a Class 1 creation master and had limited abilities. She wasn't able to see through Genius Diamond strength. However, Luoya could sense the presence of willpower from Genius, which was in Lin Yuan's embrace. This meant that the cat in his embrace was a fantasy breed fae. Luoya sighed. How could a person be so outstanding? Lin Yuan came from a reclusive noble family. He was handsome and talented. He was the perfect ideal for a young girl's dream lover. Along the way, Luoya kept talking to Lin Yuan, and Fu Di didn't continue to follow them to make things uncomfortable. It looked at Lin Yuan with a sinister gaze while looking at Genius Fur with a greedy gaze. Gradually, they discovered a few strange insects along the way. Since there were no powerful faes in the forest, these alien insects, which had been pushed away by the source sand earlier, were lucky enough to survive. Upon seeing Lin Yuan and the others, it immediately roared and charged forward. In the end, these insects naturally died at the hands of the Dry Cliff Bandits. What surprised Lin Yuan was that these alien insects, which he could casually pinch to death, were actually very powerful. The members of the Dry Cliff Bandits were all injured to varying degrees. Lin Yuan now knew the strength of the Dry Cliff Bandits. After trekking under the afterglow of the setting sun, Lin Yuan finally saw over 200 tents at the end of the forest. In front of each stall, there was a black-haired and black-eyed vendor selling his wares enthusiastically. The vendors hawked their wares while collecting their customer supplies. This scene made Lin Yuan feel as though he had returned to the Redbud City's Xia region's Fei wholesale market. Luoya originally wanted to introduce the situation of these small caravans that wandered between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. Even if Lin Yuan was a descendant of a hidden aristocratic clan and had just gone out to train, he should still know the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan rules. Thus, Luoya did not mention it to Lin Yuan. The arrival of more than 300 people at this small gathering immediately attracted the attention of the caravan. The guards in the caravan immediately summoned their fays to be on guard. At a glance, he found that most of the Deep Lush Federation's fays were at peak bronze. There were only a few silver-ranked beasts. With such strength, it was no wonder that the Withered Cliff Bandits had set their sights on him. However, if the two sides clashed, the Dry Cliff Bandits wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Fu Di and a few of the core members with silver phase wouldn't be in danger, but the weaker members were destined to lose a portion of them in the life and death battle with the merchant group's guards. Lin Yuan estimated that as long as the caravan's guards put in some effort, the Dry Cliff Bandits would lose at least 100 members. Even with such losses, the Dry Cliff Bandits still had the courage to plunder caravans. From this, it was enough to see that the people of the Shockwave continent were valiant. The Spirit Chi professionals were all living on the edge of a knife. In the Radiance Federation, there were rules for everything. Even an Emperor-class expert wouldn't dare to make a move in the royal capital. Blood feuds between factions also needed to be resolved in the extreme arena through the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. However, the rules no longer had any binding force when they reached the boundary of the Agawan continent. In other words, there weren't any so-called rules in the Awan continent. Everything he did was so uninhibited. The Dry Cliff Bandits had originally planned to plunder the merchant group. This was because Luoya had taken a liking to Lin Yuan, and he was from the Deep Brahmin Federation. Fu Di had no choice but to disguise the Dry Cliff Bandits' identity and intentions. Fu Di planned to wait for Lin Yuan's death to be blamed on the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan. He would plunder the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan according to the original plan. Therefore, Fu Di couldn't be bothered to perform the act of negotiating with the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan. Luoya, who was from a 2-star family, wasn't interested in such a small caravan. Lin Yuan was the happiest in the gathering. He walked to the first stall and used true data to take a look. He realized that there were plenty of spiritual ingredients, fruits, and plant phase that he had never seen before. There were also some clay jars. It was obvious that these things were produced in the Divine Wood Federation. When he saw that 90% of the people in the gathering were wearing armor, he knew that they were from the Iron Hammer Federation, which was rich in metal resources. It was no wonder the Deep Brahmin Federation's guards had such a huge reaction when they arrived. It seemed that this gathering was not held for the Divine Wood Federation but for the Iron Hammer Federation. Although these things that he had never seen before were novel, they had no effect under true data. They couldn't pique his interest either. Only the things inside the clay jars couldn't be seen through the surface of the jars. Thus, he reached his hand into the clay jars. Just as his hand was about to touch the clay jars, his hand was hit by a thick palm. "Kid, don't you know that you can only look and not touch things that you don't want to buy?" When Lin Yuan's hand was hit, he subconsciously lifted his head and saw the stall owner looking at him with a displeased expression. Upon seeing this, Luoya hurriedly came over. At the same time, she couldn't help but silently criticize the hidden aristocratic family. Even if the hidden aristocratic family wanted the younger generation to gain experience through training, they couldn't possibly not teach common sense, right? The hermit clan's ambitions were a little too big. After cursing silently, Luoya explained to Lin Yuan in a serious manner. When the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan holds a gathering, the goods can't be touched. Once you touch it, you will either buy it or be blacklisted by the caravan and driven out of the gathering. When Luoya explained, she thought to herself, given Lin Yuan's identity, he was hit by such a small merchant. She really didn't know how he would take revenge. In the end, Luoya saw the youth in front of her smile and say apologetically, "Uncle, I'm sorry. It's my first time attending a gathering, and I don't know the rules. I've caused you trouble. Uncle, what's in this clay jar?" The youth's sunny smile and sincere apology made the man a little embarrassed. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, the man couldn't help but think of his son who had died under the bandits' robbery the year before. At that time, his son had been about the same age as the youth in front of him when he had died. If he had still been alive, he would have been much stronger than the youth in front of him. The man's heart was filled with sorrow and sorrow. After sorting out his emotions, the man first explained why the goods couldn't be touched. "When we collect the goods, we will determine the quality of the goods in advance. The good quality goods will be kept, and the bad quality goods will be returned. We strive to not let any inferior goods mix into the caravan." End of this chapter. Chapter 1182. But even if the quality of the goods has been strictly selected, there will definitely be traces left after being touched by so many people. Phase and metal spirits are fine, but things like fur and silk will get dirty if you touch them too much. It's possible that the silk and fur will be damaged. If we can find it in time, it's fine if we lose it in our hands. If we can't find it and sell it, it will damage the reputation of the sincere righteous caravan. After the man finished explaining, he answered Lin Yuan's question. This is hard liquor collected in a nearby town in the Divine Wood Federation. You're still young, so it's best to drink less of this. If you get addicted to it, you won't have enough Brahmin dollars to spend. It's also very dangerous when you get drunk. Lin Yuan, who was inexplicably instructed by the man, scratched his head and said, "Thank you for your concern, uncle." "Thank you for your concern, but I don't drink." After looking at this stall's items, Lin Yuan said goodbye to the man and walked toward the other stalls. Luoya, who was following behind Lin Yuan, looked at his back and became more and more obsessed. Luoya had done a lot of ruthless things. If this man dared to slap her hand, Luoya wouldn't hesitate to let the mist anti-poison moth kill him. It was a punishment for offending her. Although Luoya was ruthless, it didn't mean that she didn't have a heart for the light. Lin Yuan's politeness and sunshine were qualities that Luoya didn't have. These qualities that were far from Luoya were displayed in the youth, and they deeply attracted her. This made Luoya's determination to kill Fu Di and the Dry Cliff bandits even stronger. But how should she find this person? After visiting 20 to 30 stalls in a row, Lin Yuan lost interest in continuing. The items at these stalls were similar, and it would be a waste of time if he continued. If he had the time, he might as well talk to the caravan's leader. Lin Yuan asked the stall owner in front of him, "Uncle, I want to ask where your leader is. Where is the person in charge of your caravan? I have some business to discuss with the person in charge of your caravan." Lin Yuan hadn't changed out of his spirit chi clothes. Although the clothes had been torn more than a dozen times, the gems on the spirit chi clothes could still prove that the spirit chi clothes were expensive. It could be seen that Lin Yuan was qualified to discuss a deal with the leader. The Deep Vendor Federation's caravans needed an endless supply of resources. Therefore, a normal caravan would never reject people who wanted to do business with them. The stall owner pointed at the largest tent not far away and said enthusiastically, "The person in charge of our Chang'e caravan, Mr. Feng, is in the tent in front. I saw that the few Iron Hammer Federation Spirit Chi professionals who came to discuss cooperation had already left the tent. Only Mr. Feng and his family should be in the tent now. If you have any business, just go into the tent and speak to Mr. Feng." After Lin Yuan thanked him, he walked toward the big tent that the stall owner pointed at. The tent was wide open and there was no way to knock on the door. Lin Yuan simply walked in. After entering the tent, Lin Yuan saw a flat-top old man and a middle-aged man going through the accounts. The middle-aged man and the old man looked at the account book while holding the 2-year-old child in their arms. When the child saw Lin Yuan and Luoya, he yelled twice. The old man first looked up and sized up Lin Yuan and Luoya before asking, "What do you think? Do the two of you need anything? If you want to discuss business, our Chang'e caravan will show our utmost sincerity. However, the prerequisite is that you have good goods." Just as the old man finished speaking, before Lin Yuan could reply, there was a commotion outside the tent. Through the tent, Lin Yuan could faintly hear someone shouting outside. "What? Why did an underground dimensional rift suddenly appear out of nowhere? Fuck. Quickly look for Mr. Feng and ask him what we should do." Looking for Mr. Feng won't help either. This dimensional rift is so huge, and judging from the aura, it isn't a Class 1 underground dimensional rift. It's over, it's over. When the Class 2 underground dimensional rift opens, once those underground lifeforms escape, we will all die. Upon hearing the voices coming from outside, the old man called Mr. Feng first spoke to the man beside him. "Jiaji, carry Daodu properly. No matter what happens, ensure Daodu's safety." The old man didn't even wait for anyone to look for him. He immediately rushed out of the tent to investigate the situation. Luoya's expression was extremely awful. If the rumors from outside were true, this dimensional rift was really a Class 2 existence. Even if he had the gold fey, the mist anti-poison moth, it would be hard for him to escape. The underground dimensional rift opened up in the ground, and in less than 2 minutes, a large number of underground dimensional lifeforms would surge out. Many of the dimensional creatures that emerged from the Class 2 underground dimensional rift had membranous wings. For example, the mushrooms and gargoyles had extremely powerful aerial combat abilities. Luoya suddenly turned to look at Lin Yuan. If a Class 2 underground dimensional rift opens, you and I will ride my mist anti-poison moth. We will run in the direction of the Divine Wood Federation. Didn't you just say that you opened up a Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift? Do you know the exact location of that Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift? We can only fly in the direction of the insect swarm and let the two waves of exotic beasts collide and kill each other. Only then can we survive. Lin Yuan was a little surprised to hear Luoya's words. Luoya's mist anti-poison moth was only a gold fey, and the more weight it carried, the slower it would fly. The mist anti-poison moth could fly much faster with Luoya on its back than with him on its back. Lin Yuan had never expected that Luoya would choose to bring him along at such a critical juncture. Before Lin Yuan could say anything, there was an even louder noise outside the tent. It contained several voices that Luoya was familiar with. Luoya cursed in her heart. She knew that Fu Di couldn't hold back and made a move after seeing the underground dimensional rift open. Just as Luoya was thinking about how to get out of the current predicament and let the Dry Cliff bandits keep her secret forever, Lin Yuan calmly said to her and the middle-aged man carrying the child. He didn't panic at all and spoke calmly to her and the middle-aged man carrying the child. We can't stay in the tent. Let's go out and see the situation first. But before Lin Yuan could step out of the tent started to burn. Luoya waved her hand and summoned a 2-meter-long blue-winged dragonfly. Cold Wing Wind Dragonfly, use Cold Gale. Upon hearing Luoya's command, the blue-winged dragonfly suddenly flapped its wings twice. The violent gale blew the burning tent into pieces. After the tent was broken, Luoya saw Fu Di commanding the Dry Cliff bandits to summon their fays. They were confronting the Deep Enlightenment Federation's merchant group's guards and merchants. End of this chapter. Chapter 1183. Fu Di, who was in a standoff with the sincere righteous caravan, would occasionally turn his head to search for something. Luoya's heart surged with anger. If Fu Di revealed his identity as a member of the thieves, would there still be a chance for them? Thinking of this, Luoya shouted. Fu Di! What are you doing? Fu Di immediately turned to look at Luoya as though he had found hope. Fu Di heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Luoya. As an experienced adventurer, Fu Di knew that in front of the Class 2 underground dimensional rift, there was no chance of survival. Without Luoya's main fey, the mist anti-poison moth, it was impossible to escape alive. However, when Fu Di turned to look at Lin Yuan beside Luoya, he was dumbfounded. According to the time, Lin Yuan should have turned into rotten flesh by now. How could he still be standing in the same place? However, the situation was urgent, and Fu Di did not have time to care so much. He rushed toward Luoya. He shouted as he rushed. Luoya! Use your mist anti-poison moth to take me with you. If you don't leave now, it will be too late. Fu Di's words caused the 300 Dry Cliff bandits behind him to be in a mess. The Dry Cliff bandits were involved in the business of burning, killing, and plundering. Everyone licked blood on the tip of the blade. However, not being afraid of death did not mean that they could be abandoned. The Dry Cliff bandits had always been relying on Fu Di. Now, Fu Di's cold-blooded behavior was equivalent to breaking the backbone of the 300 Dry Cliff bandits. Fu Di's actions caused the Dry Cliff bandits and the sincere righteous Chamber of Commerce to be at a disadvantage. Lin Yuan curled his lips when he saw Fu Di running toward Luoya. Although he was determined to kill Fu Di, he was facing a natural disaster now. If Fu Di could bear the responsibility as the leader of the Dry Cliff bandits and do his best to find a way out for the Dry Cliff bandits, perhaps he would respect Fu Di. In Lin Yuan's eyes, Fu Di was a useless person who didn't even have the qualifications to be a coolie in the underground palace. Seeing that Luoya did not respond, Fu Di shouted anxiously, "Don't bother about the pretty boy beside you. Don't bother about the pretty boy beside you. If you want a pretty boy in the future, I'll do my best to help you find one." Upon hearing that, Luoya was so angry that she could no longer care about escaping with Lin Yuan. Instead, she commanded the cold-wing wind dragonfly, which was a few grades lower than the mist anti-poison moth. He launched an attack on Fu Di. At this time, Luoya didn't dare to talk back to Fu Di. Fu Di had already begun to expose his past. Luoya was really afraid that Fu Di would say more things that Lin Yuan couldn't know. Luoya, who wanted Fu Di to shut up, used her full strength. Fu Di was shocked. He didn't expect Roha to kill him. At this time, Roha had no reason to attack him. He had a gold fei, and it would be of great help when escaping. Could it be that Luoya knew that I had poisoned Lin Yuan? Seeing the cold-wing wind dragonfly's ferocious attack, Fu Di did not dare to be careless. He quickly got the flesh-devouring vine to block it. The cold wind blades slashed at the body of the devouring vine, leaving a few wounds on its body. The wounds on the flesh-devouring vine's body should have been bleeding. However, under the freezing of the wind blade's cold air, the juice condensed into ice crystals at the wounds. The appearance of the ice crystals added frostbite to the flesh-devouring vine's wounds, causing the flesh-devouring vine, which had an extremely strong recovery ability, to be unable to immediately heal the wounds. From the discovery of the underground dimensional rift, to the confrontation between the Dry Cliff Bandits and the Sincere E-Merchant Group, to Luoya dealing with Di, all the farce had happened in a short span of a minute. However, the minute that the farce had consumed allowed a skinny green-skinned monster to crawl out of the underground dimensional rift. After this green-skinned monster appeared, all sorts of crypt lifeforms gushed out of the Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Under the command of the skinny green-skinned monster, these crypt lifeforms surrounded the entire gathering area in an orderly manner. Luoya said in horror, "Goblin. Why is there a goblin? Why is there a goblin? This open dimensional rift is definitely a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift." The skinny green-skinned monster that Luoya called a goblin was currently staring at the cold-wing wind dragonfly, which was attacking Di, and the mist anti-poison moth above Luoya's head. The green-skinned monster snapped its fingers, and two earthen spheres immediately appeared in the air. The two earthen balls didn't chase after the fog-poison moths and the cold-wing wind dragonflies. Instead, they firmly blocked the fog-poison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies' path of descent. If the mist anti-poison moth and the cold-wing wind dragonfly wanted to fly down, they were destined to encounter these two earthen spheres and be attacked by them. Upon seeing the situation, Luoya muttered to herself in despair. It's over this time. How can I die in such a place? I am a Class 1 creation master." Lin Yuan was the only one who could maintain his composure. When he saw the goblin crawling out of the pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift, he raised his brows in surprise. It was indeed rather strange for a goblin to appear in a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Goblins were underground lifeforms with extremely high spiritual intelligence. They were similar to the Medusa demons in the swamp world and had a humanoid form. However, goblins were relatively rarer than Medusa demons, and they were much more useful. According to the Fey Observer's information, goblins' skin color was generally grayish-green. However, the nearby goblin's skin color was a little blue, and it looked a little different from ordinary goblins. Furthermore, its spiritual intelligence seemed to be slightly higher than ordinary Class 4 goblins. Lin Yuan immediately used true data to investigate this strange goblin. Alien beast name, goblin, or vein transformation, life form, dimensional life form, alien beast grade, Class 4 innate specialty frowny face metal proliferation, sign a contract with a type of metal and absorb the metal's energy to increase one's strength. The increase in strength will feed back to the metal, allowing the metal to increase in strength. Every grade increase can replace a type of metal. Upon seeing this strange goblin's true data, Lin Yuan's pupils shrank. He didn't expect to be so lucky to encounter a legendary goblin that was undergoing or vein transformation. If this goblin or vein transformation succeeded, it could transform into a special or vein goblin. Or vein goblins were treasures. When or vein goblins burrowed underground, they could easily sense the location of the or vein through the ground. Controlling a or vein goblin was equivalent to controlling several unexploited or veins. Every single one of these unexploited veins contained a huge amount of wealth. The ore vein's richness wasn't something a few hundred heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls could compare to. Lin Yuan felt that he could completely baptize this goblin and turn it into an apostle. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1184. In terms of strategic significance, the ore vein gnome was more important than Wendy and Shiting combined. In addition, this gnome's talent, metal proliferation, could proliferate metals when it increased its strength. As long as he could get some of the metals he lacked in the future, he would not need to worry about not having enough. What Lin Yuan lacked the most now was the soft silver that could shield space and prevent detection. After controlling this gnome with the talent, metal proliferation, Lin Yuan did not need to work hard to find the soft silver. When Lin Yuan checked on this goblin that had mutated into a mineral vein, he found that it was sniffing excitedly. It seemed to have found something very interesting. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan thought, could there be an ore vein that has never been discovered in this area? When the ore vein was not mined and completely sealed, its aura would not leak out. Only a bloodline or vein gnome that had mutated would be able to sense it. It was not easy for spirit chi professionals to rely on phase to find ore veins. Under normal circumstances, spirit chi professionals would find ore veins sealed underground through accidental discoveries and fortuitous encounters. This allowed the major ore veins underground to have the opportunity to be mined. At the border between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation, resources were scarce. Lin Yuan was not sure about the Iron Hammer Federation, but the Divine Wood Federation's only town was so barren that it could not even support a Class 1 creation master. Under such circumstances, it was not impossible for there to be an ore vein here that had never been discovered. The ore vein mutation gnome glanced at the land not far away and then looked playfully at the Dry Cliff Bandits and the Sincere E Caravan's members, who were surrounded by layers of underground lifeforms. It was as though it was looking at toys that could be played with at will. Lin Yuan calmly stroked Genius' soft fur, and Genius also had a calm expression. However, Luoya, who was beside Lin Yuan, was going crazy. Luoya's Fei, the mist antivenom, and the cold wing wind dragonfly were cut off by the two soil balls that the Class 4 gnome had spawned from underground. As long as the mist antivenom and the cold wing wind dragonfly wanted to fly down, the two soil balls would keep a close eye on them. A Class 4 gnome's strength was equivalent to a platinum fey. Luoya didn't dare to let the mist antipoison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies withstand a platinum phase attack. If the fog antipoison moth and cold-wing wind dragonfly were to receive this attack, even if they didn't die, they would definitely be heavily injured. Putting aside the fact that the heavily injured mist antipoison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies could not fly, even if they could, they would not be able to fly past the fungus bats and gargoyles that were pouring out of the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift. The scene was immersed in despair. The exotic beast horde that was gushing out from the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift was an absolute natural disaster in their eyes. With the advent of a natural disaster, unless a deity descended to the mortal world, only death awaited them. The cold-wing wind dragonfly and the fog antipoison moths were blocked by the level 4 gnome's two earth balls in the sky and could no longer attack D. However, Fu Di was not at ease at all. Apart from Luoya, Fu Di was the only spirit chi professional who had summoned a gold fey. Excluding the intelligent diamond/fantasy breed that the level 4 gnome couldn't sense, Fu Di seemed to be the strongest person present. The fog antipoison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies were soaring in the sky, and the level 4 gnome's earth balls couldn't catch them. However, Fu Di and the flesh-devouring vine on the ground were within the gnome's attack range. The ground beneath Fu Di's feet caved in, causing Fu Di to be in the air. He nearly fell into the crypt that appeared out of nowhere. Fu Di's main fei, the gold flesh-devouring vine, used its vines to firmly grab onto Fu Di's hand, allowing Fu Di to escape the calamity. Just as the flesh-devouring vine was about to pull Fu Di out of the crypt, an even larger crypt appeared under its feet. The flesh-devouring vine and Fu Di fell into the crypt at the same time. Immediately after, the crypt that suddenly appeared started to show signs of healing. In the crypt, Fu Di and the flesh-devouring vine struggled frantically and yelled, "Luoya! Please save me. If you save me, I can let the flesh-devouring vine cover for your fog anti-poison moths and cold-wing wind dragonflies and take the next attack for your fog anti-poison moths. I'm willing to be your servant. In the future, if you say east, I won't go west. Save me." When Fu Di's mournful cry for help entered Luoya's ears, her face revealed a joyful expression. Even though she didn't have the intention to save Fu Di, Luoya said, "Hold on for a while. I still have a fei that I have yet to summon. Let the flesh-devouring vine extend out of the crypt, and I will let this fei of mine pull the flesh-devouring vine and bring you up." While speaking, Luoya's face revealed a contemptuous smile. "Do you think you, Fu Di, are fit to be my servant?" It was too easy for a Class 1 creation master to find a servant with a gold fei, and they could have as many as they wanted. Luoya was trying to save Fu Di and simply looked down on him. In addition, only a dead person could keep a secret. Even if she really saved Fu Di, her mouth would still be on Fu Di's body. Fu Di was speaking nonsense, and she couldn't possibly forcefully cover Fu Di's mouth. Fu Di's incessant urging came from the crypt, and Luoya was also doing her best. She was asking Fu Di to drag it out. Fu Di also listened to Luoya and constantly let the flesh-devouring vine extend its vines out of the crypt. He also summoned his other fei, the silver steel wire vine, to slap at the crypt, hoping to use this method to slow down the crypt's closing speed. At the same time, Fu Di also took out a long saber and tried his best to dodge the earth spikes that grew out of the crypt while his body was injured. The Class 4 gnome's objective was to eliminate the greatest threat on the battlefield and was already determined to kill Fu Di. Fu Di's flesh-devouring vine kept extending out of the crypt, and it was the same as provoking the Class 4 gnome. Under the consecutive killer moves of the Class 4 gnome, Fu Di and his two feis, who were waiting for Luoya's rescue, died in the closed crypt. Seeing that Fu Di was dead, Luoya let out a breath of relief. Luoya noticed that during the confrontation between the Sincere merchant group and the Dry Cliff bandits, the man and the elder in the tent had summoned their pinnacle silver feis. This caused the Dry Cliff bandits to be at a disadvantage without Fu Di's leadership. In the end, they were all pushed to the periphery and had to face the increasing number of crypt lifeforms. Luoya had now seen the reality clearly and didn't think that she could survive in a pinnacle class 2-dimensional rift. What Luoya wanted to do now was to be by his side with a clean conscience when she died. She wanted him to never know that he was in the past. Due to such thoughts, compared to escaping, Luoya hoped that the remaining Dry Cliff bandits would be wiped out. Luoya had already thought of a reason for deceiving Fu Di and not saving him. ABC. Chapter 1185. Luoya said to Lin Yuan. Fu Di has already gone crazy from the pressure of the Class 2-dimensional rift. Everything he says is nonsense. Fu Di wants me to take him away, but my fog anti-poison moth can't carry 3 people. At this point, Roha paused for a moment before speaking softly. Between you and Fu Di, I chose you. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his brows. He really wanted to use a magnifying glass to see how big Luoya's heart was. He actually wanted to flirt with her at the critical moment of life and death. Lin Yuan thought to himself as he looked at the tide of underground cave lifeforms that were ready to launch a large-scale attack. The sudden situation has disrupted Mai and Lu Jie's original plans. Next, we'll have to see when Lu Jie will appear. Luoya, who was waiting for death, did not realize that Lin Yuan was still calm and composed. However, Mr. Feng and the man called Jia Ji had been paying attention to Lin Yuan while they were leading the Sincere Righteous caravan to confront the Dry Cliff bandits. From the moment they met, Lin Yuan's noble aura had attracted Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji's attention. Someone with this kind of temperament shouldn't appear in a small caravan that only had a few hundred people. Furthermore, genius, which was in Lin Yuan's embrace, was far more convincing than the damaged spirit chi clothes on him. Mr. Feng had never seen this white cat species fey with 8 long tails before and couldn't see through its strength. However, just this feline fey's fur was worth more than the entire sincere merchant caravan. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji were already running toward Lin Yuan. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Mr. Feng's first words were, "I've neglected you just now. If you have a way to escape, can you bring along my grandson, Dodo?" After speaking, Mr. Feng gestured for his son, Feng Jiaji, to hand Lil Pi over to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was slightly startled and did not take the Pi that Feng Jiaji handed over. Upon seeing Lil Pi blinking her big eyes but still smiling foolishly at this juncture, Lin Yuan made a decision in his heart. If Lu Jia couldn't make a move in time to stop the exotic beast swarm, then he'd have to save the child in the midst of it. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan didn't take Lil Pi, Mr. Feng quickly took out 10 silver object holding walnuts and said to Lin Yuan, "Don't worry. These 10 walnuts contain the resources that I've accumulated over the years from my travels. If you can save Daodu, these resources will be your reward." Speaking of this, Mr. Feng hurriedly added, "This is all I have. If I have more, I will definitely give them to you." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji, who was pursing his lips as he handed Lil Pi to him. "What if I have the ability to save the 3 of you?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Luoya, Mr. Feng, and Feng Jiaji, who were standing beside Lin Yuan, were shocked. Mr. Feng looked at his son, Feng Jiaji, and the other members of the Sincerity Trade Association who were resisting the Dry Cliff Bandits with all their might. "Some of these people have been with me for 40 to 50 years, while others have been with me for 10 to 20 years. They are all old buddies. You want this old man to abandon these old fellows in a desperate situation? This old man can't do it. These people followed me when they were young. When they had children, their children followed me. When they had grandchildren, their grandchildren followed me. I can't just leave them here. Rather than living in guilt, it is better to die bravely and righteously." Upon hearing his father's words, Feng Jiaji also gritted his teeth and expressed his stance. "When I was born, I stayed with my father in the Sincerity Caravan. My mother and daughter-in-law are also in the Sincerity Caravan. The Sincerity Caravan is my route. I won't leave either. Please, if you have the ability, I hope you can save Daodu. Daodu doesn't know anything now. I only hope that he can survive. To put it in a selfish way, Daodu's survival is equivalent to my survival. He is the continuation of my bloodline." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji with a different gaze. The faithfulness of the Sincerity Caravan was completely worthy of its name. Such a loyal caravan might not necessarily have a good development in this chaotic world, but it was definitely an excellent partner. Looking at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji's expectant eyes, Lin Yuan reached out and caressed Daodu's face. "My retainer knight and I were separated because of the dimensional rift that suddenly opened. A pinnacle class 2 underground dimensional rift opened here. With such a huge commotion, my retainer will definitely find its way here. As long as he finds its way here, everything can be resolved." Just as Lin Yuan finished speaking, before Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji could react, the Dry Cliff Bandits at the periphery let out mournful wails. "It's over. This group of underground creatures is charging over. Those at the back, don't block me. Ah! My leg is broken." Originally, the Class 4 gnome was commanding the exotic beast Tide. However, after a huge, pitch-black stone statue flew out of the pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift, the exotic beast Tide was in complete chaos. This meant that the newly emerged Class 4 obsidian gargoyle and the Class 4 gnome were fighting for the commanding authority of the exotic beast Tide. Soon, in the endless exotic beast Tide, the 300 Dry Cliff Bandits at the periphery were wiped out. Seeing that the Sincere Caravan's members were about to be slaughtered by the exotic beast Tide, Lin Yuan prepared to communicate with the source sand under his feet and let it boil. At that moment, an aura swept across the entire exotic beast tide from afar. This aura might not be like the slaughtering sky butterfly, which made all the dimensional creatures kneel in fear. However, this aura attracted the attention of all the underground dimensional creatures, including the Class 4 gnome and the Class 4 obsidian gargoyle. Immediately after, several huge spider webs suddenly appeared in the air. These spider webs seemed to appear out of thin air, and the moment they appeared, a large number of underground dimensional creatures were stuck to them. The underground dimensional creatures that were stuck to the spider webs were not killed and were still alive. However, they had completely lost the ability to move. Lin Yuan took a closer look and realized that the spider webs were filled with tiny, translucent spiders. These spiders were not even the size of half of his fingernail. However, it was these translucent spiders that instantly pulled up several giant webs. The spider webs in the air were the densest in the direction of the aura. As the spider webs repeatedly stuck together, the underground dimensional creatures in an area of the exotic beast tide were completely cleared. It was equivalent to opening up a path in the exotic beast tide without obstruction. At the end of the path was a man in silver armor. Above the man's head was a moth that emitted light like a chandelier. As the moth flew, it emitted a faint dimensional fluctuation. In the eyes of the sincere caravan's members, Luoya, and the others, who were waiting for death, the silver-armored Lu Jia at the end of the path was no different from a divine soldier descending from heaven. End of this chapter. Chapter 1186. The hundreds of giant webs that appeared out of thin air were divine means that the sincere caravan members, Luoya, and the others had never seen before. Lu Jia walked unhurriedly on this path that no more crypt creatures dared to step on. More and more nets appeared out of thin air, as if they were weaving layers of gauze in the sky above the beast swarm. As the spider webs trembled, tens of thousands of dimensional lifeforms were firmly stuck to them. Even the Class 4 obsidian gargoyle that was fighting with the Class 4 gnome for control of the exotic beast tide was stuck to the spider webs, unable to break free. Seeing this, Lin Yuan was rather shocked. He didn't expect Lu Jia to use such a method to deal with the exotic beast tide. The reason Lu Jia spared the lives of these underground lifeforms and didn't kill them all was obviously to increase Silver Flower's rations. Lu Jia's divine means of controlling the pinnacle Class 2 exotic beast tide was due to those translucent and inconspicuous little spiders on the spider webs. The translucent spiders on the spider webs were probably a new type of insect-type carcinoma Fey that Lu Jia was controlling through the insect queen. While the others were still immersed in Lu Jia's divine means, Lin Yuan had already used true data. He checked the attributes of the insect-type carcinoma Fey that Lu Jia had contracted. Fey name, web glass spider, Fey species, arachnid species/jumping arachnid species, Fey grade, diamond, 10 out of 10, Fey type, insect, Fey quality, legend abilities frowny face body splitting decomposition, rupture the body and split the body's energy into several portions. Each portion of energy will split into small lifeforms that possess the main body's abilities and exclusive skills. As the number of split lifeforms increases, the individual's abilities will decrease. Web thread, the drawn-out threads will spontaneously absorb the energy in the air and turn into a web. They will also attract other spider webs and stick together. Hunting web feast, the spider webs will decompose into decomposition molds that have a powerful decomposition effect. Everything on the web will be decomposed and energy will be returned to each individual on the web. When the individual's energy reaches the specified energy multiple, they will spontaneously split into new individuals. Weakening thread, some creatures that have been specially cultivated with energy can spit out threads that have a weakening effect. Any target that comes into contact with the weakening effect will be weakened by the thread's ability. Weakening includes softening carapace, decreasing speed, itching, and other negative effects. Network battlefield, after the spider web dominates the sky, it will continue to produce a large number of spider webs to cover the ground. At the same time, the spider webs will secrete a large amount of mucus. When the target that is controlled by the weakening silk thread touches the mucus of the spider web, the effects of the weakening silk thread will double. The target that is not touched by the weakening silk thread will move faster when touching the mucus of the spider web. At the same time, the mucus of the spider web has healing effects. Sacrificial spider silk. When a split-off individual receives a fatal attack, the spider silk's energy can be sacrificed. Through the spider silk's energy, a large number of individuals can be created. The sacrificed spider silk will give a praise effect to all allies on the spider web, increasing the toughness of their shells. Exclusive skill frowny face geometric force bearing. The spider web's weave will automatically conform to geometric mechanics. As long as multiple spider webs are connected, they will be able to bear the force of a single spider web. When he saw Lu Jie's insect species tumor fei, Lin Yuan immediately knew that Lu Jie's net domain glass spider had only executed its body decomposition and web abilities. It had not used any other abilities. The net domain glass spider had only displayed its control ability to cover a large battlefield. However, control ability wasn't the main ability of the net domain glass spider. There were plenty of insect species tumor feis to choose from in the land of spirit suppression. Lu Jie had allowed the insect queen to control the net domain glass spider not because he had taken a fancy to its control ability. The net domain glass spider's true ability would only be displayed after it executed its platinum ability, network battlefield. The spider webs would form a battlefield suitable for insect species combat in the sky and on the ground. Lu Jie's insect queen alone could produce 5 types of insects, including the blade queen bee and other insect species tumor feis that could produce individuals. Lu Jie could spread out many types of insects on the battlefield. On the battlefield, these insects could use the mucus on the spider webs to increase their speed and heal their injuries. A single insect's speed and recovery wouldn't have much of an effect. However, if every insect in the insect swarm could receive such a buff, the insect swarm's combat ability would increase by several folds. In addition, the weakening silk thread could weaken the enemy, and the sacrificial spider silk could increase the insect phase carapace defense. Lin Yuan found it hard to imagine how much Lu Jie's insect swarm would be enhanced in a positional battle. Furthermore, the net domain glass spider's body-splitting decomposition, network battlefield, and geometric force endurance could be used together. This allowed the spider webs to be instantly spread out on the battlefield. The instant setup of the battlefield meant that positional battle would no longer be Lu Jie's weakness in combat. The sacrificial spider silk and hunting web feast could also enhance the spider web's recovery ability. If it wasn't for Lin Yuan's innate talent not being compatible with insect species phase, if he allowed Morbius to spirit lock on the insect species tumor phase, the insect species tumor phase would only have one ability left. Lin Yuan wanted to nurture an insect species tumor fei that was suitable for him. Of course, there was a limit to how many insect species tumor feis Lu Jie could contract. Due to the chaotic intelligence of the tumor phase, it was basically impossible for them to comprehend willpower runes from nature. It was the same for the hidden sea lotus flower. However, the hidden sea lotus flower had encountered the source-type demon spirit's heart. The demon spirit's heart had allowed the hidden sea lotus flower to transform into the demon spirit source-type silver flower. Silver flower, which was no longer a carcinoma fey, could freely evolve into a fantasy breed. This also meant that without the demon spirit's heart, Lu Jie's insect species tumor phase would only be able to reach Diamond X/Legend no matter how he nurtured them. However, this strength was sufficient. The combination of over a dozen insect species tumor phase allowed Lu Jie to face Emperor-class experts head-on. Lin Yuan felt that if he were to really fight with Lu Jie, he might not be able to defeat him. Lu Jie led the insect queen to hide in the insect swarm and commanded the insect swarm from the dark. Even if Lin Yuan used the Dark Crow Withering Strike in Princess Sacred Sword mode, it would still be useless. After all, the Dark Crow Withering Strike was not a large-scale sword skill and could not lock onto a target. After witnessing Lu Jie's strength again, Lin Yuan felt that he should put in more effort. Morbius' new Silver Spirit Lock phase had to be arranged as soon as possible. At that moment, Lu Jie, who was like a deity descending to the mortal world, walked step by step toward the youth who was hugging the white kitten under the Sincerity Chamber of Commerce's members and Luoya's gaze. Everyone saw the silver-armored youth kneeling on one knee and placing his hand on the left side of his chest. He said respectfully, "Young master, my apologies for being late and giving you a fright." Chapter 1187. Lin Yuan's eyes twitched wildly as he looked at Lu Jie, who was kneeling in front of him. What is Brother Lu doing? Could it be that Brother Lu is also a natural actor? That's right, the Divine Wood Federation's sense of hierarchy is much stronger than the Radiance Federation's. In the Radiance Federation, there was no need for those complicated etiquettes between the retainers, but they were essential in the Divine Wood Federation. Without these etiquettes, people would feel very out of place and would look down on them. The more obvious the etiquettes were, the more people would revere them on the Agro continent. On the contrary, if the relationship between the master and the retainer was too casual, it was easy to be recognized as a nouveau riche without any foundation. Lin Yuan thought that Lu Jie was acting to match the current scene, but it was not the case for Lu Jie at all. Lu Jie was currently wearing the Class 2 Creation Master's retainer crest that Lin Yuan had given him under the silver armor. Lu Jie's hand was caressing the position of the Class 2 Creation Master crest. This Class 2 Creation Master retainer crest was the proof of Lu Jie's redemption. It was also the place where Lu Jie's dream began. Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan had always regarded him as a companion, a friend, and even a family member. However, in Lu Jie's heart, he would always be Lin Yuan's retainer knight. Now that Lu Jie thought about it, this seemed to be the first time he stood by Lin Yuan's side as a retainer knight in front of outsiders. Therefore, Lu Jie, who was kneeling on one knee, was so pious that even his breathing was a little heavy. The scene in front of Luoya and the Sincere Caravan's members' minds fiercely hit. Although Luoya had always guessed that Lin Yuan was a descendant of a hidden elite clan, she had never thought that Lin Yuan's retainer would be so powerful. After all, according to Lin Yuan, he had been separated from his retainer when facing the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift. Even the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift's insect tide could not deal with a retainer, let alone a pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional life form tide. The moment Lu Jie appeared, Luoya did not associate him with Lin Yuan's retainer at all. This was because Lu Jie looked too young. Compared to Lin Yuan, who had dozens of cuts on his clothes, he had such strength at the age of 24 or 25. The black-haired and black-eyed Lu Jie undoubtedly looked more like a member of a hidden elite clan. Luoya, who was a Class 1 Creation Master, couldn't see through Lu Jie's strength. However, this godlike man turned out to be Lin Yuan's retainer, who was standing beside him. How high is Lin Yuan's status? How powerful was the faction behind Lin Yuan? Could it be that Lin Yuan's hidden clan has a Class 4 Creation Master? Thinking of this, Roha didn't dare to continue imagining. In Luoya's opinion, a Class 3 clan with a Class 3 Creation Master was an unreachable existence. Luoya's 2-star family didn't have the qualifications to let Luoya face a 4-star family member, even if it was just a small fry of a 4-star family. Luoya originally had all kinds of fantasies about Lin Yuan. Even if Luoya had guessed that Lin Yuan was a member of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan, she had also thought of fighting for it. But now that he saw Lin Yuan's powerful retainer, he thought of Lin Yuan's unreachable identity. Ya's love at first sight slowly turned into longing. Luoya subconsciously knew that the gap between her and Lin Yuan's status was too big. Such a gap in status meant that it was impossible for the two of them to be together. Thinking of this, Luoya felt dejected. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji also recovered from their state of shock. Subsequently, the two of them felt a sense of closeness to Lin Yuan from the bottom of their hearts. This sense of closeness originated from the joy of surviving a calamity. Be it the Deep Brahmin Federation, the Divine Wood Federation, or the Iron Hammer Federation, they had the habit of treating the master and retainer as one. Everything a retainer did was considered to be carrying out their master's will. Although Lu Jie had stopped the pinnacle Class 2 exotic beast tide, everyone's gratitude was transferred to Lin Yuan because Lu Jie was Lin Yuan's retainer. Lu Jie bowed for half a minute before standing up. He took a side step to Lin Yuan's side, separating Luoya and Lin Yuan. Seeing this, Luoya subconsciously took a step to the side, distancing herself from Lu Jie. Even though the silver-armored man beside her didn't look at her, he was definitely not friendly to her. Luoya could feel this. Lin Yuan's retainer didn't even look at her. This made Luoya feel that the distance between her and Lin Yuan had widened. Suddenly, cheers rang out from the surroundings. Ah! God has saved us. Look, these underground creatures are all being controlled by the net in the sky. Oh my God. I'm not dead. This is great. Thank God. The Qingyi caravan's members who had relatives all hugged each other tightly. Those who had relatives also hugged each other tightly. The feeling of surviving a calamity even caused tears to gush out from the corners of many people's eyes. These tears were wiped away by weather-beaten palms. The remaining salty tears in the palms seemed to be playing a dirge of life for the survivors after the calamity had ended. Feng Jiaji retracted his hand that was passing Lil Pi to Lin Yuan and kissed Lil Pi, who was blinking her big watery eyes. Perhaps because Feng Jiaji's stubble was too sharp, Lil Pi, who was smiling foolishly, was kissed so hard that she started crying. Feng Jiaji, who usually took care of Lil Pi like a pair of eyes, didn't care about Lil Pi at this moment. It's getting dark. Start the fire. I'll take out 2 silver rank Mangshan bowls. Tonight, we'll roast them to entertain our esteemed guests. Feng Jiaji's words caused the atmosphere to instantly become tense. It didn't look like it had just experienced a terrifying natural disaster. The Sincere Caravan's members looked at Lin Yuan and Lu Jie with sparkling eyes. However, none of them dared to come to Lin Yuan's side to thank him. Lin Yuan's natural and gentle temperament and Lu Jie's firm and cold temperament could only be nurtured by a major faction. This kind of temperament made the members of the Sincerity Caravan, who traveled all over the country to hold gatherings, shrink back. Upon hearing Feng Jiaji's words, Luoya, who was looking at Lin Yuan with a somewhat infatuated and complicated gaze, threw a bronze walnut on the ground. 110 kilograms of fruits suddenly appeared on the ground. Roha said, "Since we're going to eat the whole roast cow, we can't do without these fruits. The beef is greasy. Take these fruits and wash them. Eat them with the roasted beef." The whole roast cow banquet at night didn't have any seasoning, just some salt and the fruits provided by Luoya. The taste was naturally not comparable to Lu Jie's. At that moment, many members of the Sincerity Caravan were dancing enthusiastically around the bonfire. In such an atmosphere, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie ate very happily. End of this chapter. Chapter 1188. Roha had been eating the roast beef in her hand. His eyes occasionally glanced at Lin Yuan, and no one knew what he was thinking. When Luoya saw Lin Yuan's eyes staring at the dancing members of the Sincere Caravan beside the bonfire, she felt a chill run down her spine. Roha directly took off the purple fur cloak behind her, and then waved the purple fur cloak in front of the bonfire for a while. The eyes of many men in the Qingyi Caravan lit up. Lu Jie could not help but ask Lin Yuan softly. "Lin Yuan, this woman must have taken a liking to you. You didn't suffer any losses while walking with her, right?" Lin Yuan hurriedly shook his head. Although he wanted to complete his plan, open up the situation in the horrifying continent, and obtain 2 relationships that could be developed continuously, he still had to be careful. However, he was unwilling to suffer a loss. Looking at the dimensional light moth hovering above Lu Jie's head, Lin Yuan increasingly felt that the dimensional rift that had just opened was strange. The appearance of an underground dimensional rift didn't require a long time to brew like other dimensional rifts before an exotic beast tide would appear. However, a naturally open dimensional rift was collapsing from the inside out. Usually, the first to appear were the weaker units. The stronger units would only appear in the middle and later stages of the game. The first dimensional life form that appeared in the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift was a Class 4 gnome. From this point of view, it really didn't make sense. The only explanation for this situation was that the dimensional space collapsed from the outside and a level, for gnome was coincidentally sucked in. Therefore, Lin Yuan asked Lu Jie. Big brother Lu, did you get the dimensional light moths to create the underground dimensional rift that just opened up? Lu Jie immediately nodded and replied in a serious manner. When you went to the dry cliff bandits, the insect queen produced another 20 hurricane owlet moths. I've sent 15 of them to explore the terrain from a further distance. The remaining 15 will be used to monitor the situation on your side and the caravan. When the insect mother's spirit descends upon the individual black-winged armadillo, the black-winged armadillo can understand the voice. After I heard that the situation on your side has changed, I was thinking about how to achieve my initial goal. In the end, creating a natural disaster was the simplest solution I could think of. The insect-type carcinoma Fae, the dimensional light moth, was an extremely dangerous existence among the insect-type carcinoma Faes that the spirit guards took in. After the dimensional light moth gnawed at the space, it would often lead to dimensional rifts. Before Lin Yuan had obtained the void-shattering stone, he had thought of letting Lu Jie's dimensional lamp moths nibble through space to create dimensional rifts. Relying on the exotic beast hordes that descended from the dimensional rifts that the dimensional light moths devoured, Silver Glory was able to raise her strength and nurture the sea of flowers. However, he rejected this idea in the end. The strength of a dimensional light moth that had not been cultivated was generally only at the bronze or silver rank. Basically, it would never reach the gold rank in its lifetime. Even a dimensional light moth with such strength had the result of creating a class 4 dimensional rift. Lu Jie's dimensional light moth was now at Diamond X/Legend. It was impossible for an insect species carcinoma Fae to exist in the natural world. Lin Yuan reckoned that this pinnacle class 2 dimensional rift was the result of the dimensional light moth's bite. If it took another 2 bites, it would be a class 3 dimensional rift. However, when Silver Glory was strong enough, perhaps the dimensional light moth would come in handy again. Lin Yuan originally planned to talk to Mr. Feng after the bonfire roast whole cow banquet ended. However, before Lin Yuan could take the initiative to look for Mr. Feng brought Feng Jiaji over to Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji first bowed to Lin Yuan to express their gratitude before bowing to Lu Jie. Then, Mr. Feng took out 9 silver walnuts and handed them to Lin Yuan. Back then, I gave you these 9 walnuts because I wanted you to save Lil P. Not only did you save Lil P, but you also saved the rest of the Sincere E-Merchant team. But all of Jiaji's and my belongings are in these 9 walnuts. We really don't have any more. Please don't mind. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan focused and looked at Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji's eyes. He realized that their eyes were filled with sincerity. Thus, Lin Yuan reached out to take one of the silver walnuts and prepared to check the storage ability of spatial spiritual ingredients like the walnuts. Lin Yuan realized that the space of the silver walnut was about 100 square meters. The interior was about the same size as the silver Fey storage box. However, there were 2 drawbacks to the walnut and the silver Fey storage box. One of them was that the silver walnut could only be used a limited number of times, and every time he wanted to retrieve an item, he would need to take out all the items inside. On the other hand, the spatial energy in the silver walnut would completely disappear after 100 times of storage. In comparison, the Fey storage box was much more useful than the walnut storage box. However, the storage walnut was definitely more attractive to him than the Fey storage box. If each walnut contained a unit of spatial energy, then Lin Yuan only needed 50,000 units of silver walnuts. This would ensure that he could go back and forth between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation through the spatial tunnel once. 50,000 silver walnuts were indeed a lot, but the spatial energy contained in the higher grade walnuts was obviously higher. Therefore, Lin Yuan asked Mr. Feng, "Do you have gold tier walnuts?" When Mr. Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, he thought that Lin Yuan was dissatisfied with the rewards in front of him. Mr. Feng smiled bitterly and said, "These 9 silver tier walnuts are really all we have. The price of a storage walnut will be more than 100 times higher than a silver walnut. Even if I used all my belongings to buy gold walnuts, I wouldn't be able to buy a few. Gold walnuts are still consumables and will lose their effect after 1,000 times of storage. Only the legendary diamond rank storage walnut can remain undamaged no matter how many items are stored in it. We can't afford the gold walnuts, and the price of such resources is constant in the Divine Wood Federation. There is no profit even if we sell them. Upon hearing Mr. Feng's words, Lin Yuan knew that Mr. Feng was tactfully telling him no. Therefore, Lin Yuan changed the topic and asked, "Then do you have a bronze walnut?" Previously, Fu Di had taken out a bronze walnut, but Lin Yuan had only seen its appearance. Therefore, Lin Yuan could not be sure how much spatial energy the bronze walnut had. The reason why Lin Yuan wanted a gold or bronze walnut that was one grade lower than a silver walnut was because he wanted to compare its spatial energy with the silver walnuts. He wanted to compare the spatial energy within it with the spatial energy of the silver walnut. End of this chapter. Chapter 1189. Thus, he could infer how many diamond walnuts he needed to travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation through the spatial tunnel. After all, given the creation master resources in Lin Yuan's hands, he could easily raise the diamond walnut tree. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan was looking for a bronze walnut, Mr. Feng hurriedly pointed to a specially marked walnut. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan was looking for a bronze walnut, Mr. Feng hurriedly pointed at a specially marked walnut and said, "That's right. If you want to find a bronze walnut, you can take it from here. If you want to find a bronze walnut, you can take it from here." While dancing, Luoya kept looking at Lin Yuan. However, Luoya was dismayed to find that not long after she danced, the sincere caravan's old man brought his family to find Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was no longer looking in the direction of the bonfire, so Luoya was no longer in the mood to continue dancing. Moreover, there was a group of middle-aged men staring at her while clapping and cheering from time to time. These crooked-looking middle-aged men made Luoya feel uncomfortable. Thus, Luoya put on the purple cloak that she had been waving in her hand and walked toward the forest. As soon as she walked to Lin Yuan's side, she heard that Lin Yuan was looking for bronze and gold walnuts. Without saying anything, Luoya threw the only gold walnut and 2 bronze walnuts she had to Lin Yuan and said, "I have bronze and gold walnuts here. I have both bronze and gold walnuts here." Lin Yuan hurriedly took the walnuts that Luoya threw over and nodded to thank her. If only bronze or gold walnuts were compared with silver walnuts, the value of the comparison was likely to be different. However, if he could compare the 3 walnuts at the same time, he could accurately calculate the spatial energy contained in a diamond walnut. After some exploration and calculation, Lin Yuan found that the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts all had about 10 times the spatial energy. After some probing and calculations, Lin Yuan found that the spatial energy between the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts had a difference of about 10 times. After some exploration and calculation, Lin Yuan found that the spatial energy between the bronze, silver, and gold walnuts was about 10 times different. In other words, he only needed 50 diamond walnuts to travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. Lin Yuan really hoped that a fei like the storage walnut tree would be able to produce more fruits at a time. Of course, he also had a way to increase the walnut tree's fruit capacity. Some specific swamp soil could solve his problem. After checking, Lin Yuan returned the gold walnuts and the 2 bronze walnuts that Luoya had thrown at him. After that, he handed the first silver walnut back to Mr. Feng and said, "The things in your 9 walnuts are useless to me. You can keep them for yourselves." Compared to these 9 walnuts, I hope that we can work together in the future and trade some of the materials I need through you. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Mr. Feng had a bitter expression while feeling happy in his heart. Based on Lin Yuan's retainer and genius in Lin Yuan's embrace, Mr. Feng knew that Lin Yuan didn't care about his little assets. The wealth that he had worked hard for most of his life was thrown away like a pair of shoes. This made Mr. Feng realize the weakness of the Qingyi business caravan. At the same time, Lin Yuan's initiative to cooperate delighted Mr. Feng. But when Mr. Feng realized the reality, his face turned bitter. "You have seen the scale of our Qingyi business caravan, and you know how capable we are. I'm afraid it will be hard for our Qingyi business caravan to get the materials you need." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan asked with a faint smile, What is the most basic operation of a caravan? When Mr. Feng heard Lin Yuan's question, he subconsciously answered. The most basic operation of a caravan is the stability of the members and capital. When answering Lin Yuan's question, Mr. Feng was a little confused as he didn't know why Lin Yuan would ask such a question. As soon as Mr. Feng answered the question, he heard the youth's clear and pleasant voice. As far as I know, your small caravan is affiliated with a large chamber of commerce. Apart from trading materials in various places, the Chamber of Commerce will also collect materials from your hands. You can also use items to exchange for materials from the affiliated Chamber of Commerce. If I give you capital, can you help me exchange for materials from the Chamber of Commerce? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Mr. Feng hurriedly swallowed his saliva and asked in a probing manner. It depends on what you want to exchange for. Our Qingyi business caravan is a small caravan with 100 people. Our rating in the Deep Frost Chamber of Commerce is not high, and the Deep Frost Chamber of Commerce does not open many materials to us. If we don't meet the rating standards, we can't exchange for them even if we have the materials. Lin Yuan asked indifferently. Are you going to the Iron Hammer Federation or the Divine Wood Federation next? Upon hearing that, Mr. Feng hurriedly replied. For this gathering, we have exchanged almost all the materials from the Divine Wood Federation for furs and metals. Next, we plan to go deep into the Divine Wood Federation and use these furs and metals to make a profit. It just so happens that the Deep Frost Chamber of Commerce has a branch in Dragonwood City, and the Iron Hammer Federation's resources that have not been sold can also be cashed in. After all of them are cashed in, we will have the capital to collect the Divine Wood Federation's special materials. Mr. Feng did not hold back from Lin Yuan regarding the Qingyi business caravan's development and plan. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, That's great. That's great. Empty the silver walnut later and give me both the silver and bronze walnuts. It's best if you can also collect the walnuts of the other people in the caravan. Tomorrow morning, I will return the walnuts filled with new materials to you. The materials in these walnuts will be the capital for the Qingyi business caravan's future development. Leave me your phone number. I will call you when I need any materials in the future. Mr. Feng was very excited. Lin Yuan's words let Mr. Feng know that the Qingyi business caravan's opportunity had come. When Feng Jiaji went to collect the walnuts of the other people in the caravan, he did not say a reason at all. When everyone heard that it was for Lin Yuan, they offered their walnuts without another word. Lin Yuan saw all of this. Lin Yuan's original plan was to use the Qingyi business caravan as a catalyst to contact the Chamber of Commerce behind it. Thus, they could reach a cooperation. But now that he was facing this righteous team, Lin Yuan intended to give the Qingyi business caravan a chance. If the Qingyi business caravan could use this opportunity to rise, the value it could create for Lin Yuan would definitely be much greater than the Chamber of Commerce behind it. This was because the Qingyi business caravan's captain, Mr. Feng, and the other members of the caravan were willing to give him their many years of hard work. Naturally, they would not hide their intentions from him in the future cooperation. End of this chapter. Chapter 1190. Deep into the day, Luoya had something to say to him at night. But in the end, she forcefully endured it. Looking back at the road ahead, Luoya laughed self-mockingly. The first half of her life was too ironic. She was born in a 2-star family and had favorable conditions, but she only cared about having fun. In the past few years, she had followed the Dry Cliff Bandits everywhere to have fun. She had been a B-rank spirit chi professional for almost a year, and her grandfather had said that he would help her promote the Mist Anti-Poison Moth to Platinum. She had rejected it because she felt that it would delay her fun. She was too unbearable. She was so unbearable that she didn't dare to talk to him after understanding how outstanding he was. Looking at the vast night sky, Luoya, who had always had a playful attitude, was sure that there was someone living in her heart. All her flirtatious thoughts were completely suppressed by this person. Apart from having an illustrious status, he had a creation breed fae at a young age. Luoya hadn't even comprehended a single willpower rune. No matter how hard she worked, she wouldn't be able to catch up to that person in her heart. But at the moment when she denied herself, Roha's heart gave birth to a stubborn determination. Luoya took a deep breath and clenched her fists. Even if I can't catch up to that person's footsteps, I can at least get closer to him through hard work. At the very least, I can have the qualifications to chase after his back. This thought gave Luoya an unprecedented drive. When Luoya's drive reached the peak, she suddenly entered a state of epiphany. Sensing the additional willpower rune in her mind, Luoya took a deep look at Lin Yuan's tent. When she looked at Lin Yuan's tent, she found that the silver-armored youth was frowning and looking at her with vigilance. His vigilant gaze was as though he was guarding against a thief. His gaze made Luoya rather speechless. What am I doing? What does that look mean? He's looking at me as though I'm an LSP. Can a weak woman like me knock you out and enter the tent to do something to Lin Yuan? The cobwebs in the sky have yet to be removed. Luoya felt that if she really wanted to do something and put it into practice, the silver-armored youth would definitely let the cobwebs cover the sky and stick her to it. He hung himself together with those ugly crypt creatures on the spider web. Thinking of this scene, Roha shivered. Luoya took out a piece of paper and solemnly wrote her phone number on it. Then, she strode to Lu Jia's side. He passed the paper to Lu Jia and said, I made an appointment with Lin Yuan to host him in Nanma City. If Lin Yuan arrives at Nanma City, you can ask him to call me. After saying that, Luoya gazed at Lin Yuan's sleeping tent with nostalgia. Then thinking of the determination in her heart, Roha turned around and climbed on the back of the mist anti-poison moth. The fog anti-poison moth flapped its wings and flew in the direction of the Divine Wood Federation. Apart from Lu Jia, no one else was alerted. However, this didn't mean that the members of the Qingyi caravan could have a good night's sleep. On the contrary, after the bonfire feast was over, the liveliness and joy died down. The members of the Sincere Merchant Group recalled that the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift that had suddenly opened up had yet to be resolved. It was just that every underground life form that came out of the Pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift would be immediately caught by the spiderweb. The crypt creatures that were stuck on the spider web would be neatly arranged by some indistinct little things on the spider web. It could be said that if they did not sleep in the tent, once they opened their eyes, they would be able to see the crypt creatures that were 50 meters in the sky. They could see the miserable scene of the crypt creatures struggling desperately on the spider web. This impact made the members of the Sincere Merchant Group close their eyes, afraid that the crypt creatures that were stuck on the spider web would fall down. If a crypt creature really fell down, even if the silver-armored man stationed in front of the tent acted righteously, it was very likely that they would lose their lives if they did not act in time. After all, there was still a Class 4 gnome and a Class 4 obsidian gargoyle hanging on the spider web. It was different from most of the members of the Sincere Merchant Group. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji had not slept the entire night because they were excited and looking forward to it. When Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji collected the Sincere Merchant Group's walnuts, they did not say that the walnuts were for Lin Yuan's sake. They did not say that the walnuts were for Lin Yuan to help replace the supplies and give the Sincere Merchant Group an initial capital. Mr. Feng and Feng Jiaji did not know how much capital Lin Yuan would provide for the Sincere Merchant Group. If they continued to speak before the dust settled, it was likely that the merchant group's members would have high expectations. If the expectations were not met, the merchant group members would sink into disappointment. Mr. Feng, who had led a 100-member team for many years, understood that excessive expectations would definitely not lead to desire and greed. Once the seeds of desire and greed appeared, they would quickly gnaw at a kind person's heart. While excited and looking forward to it, Mr. Feng knew that he would not have an easy time. On the one hand, he had to use the capital that Lin Yuan would provide to allow the merchant group to develop rapidly and build up its reputation. On the other hand, he had to guide the hearts of the old fellows in the merchant group so that they would not be blinded by desire and greed. On the next morning, Lin Yuan woke up in the tent. Before sleeping, Lin Yuan sent Genius back into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. It was not that Lin Yuan did not want to hug Genius to sleep, but Genius insisted on teaching a few hundred questions beasts. Afterward, it went to study and concoct the spirit fluid to nurture the soldier grain radish. Genius had been nestled in Lin Yuan's embrace since the afternoon and had been napping a lot. Since Genius did not lack sleep, Lin Yuan simply let it be. After taking out a few hoses from the amber button-shaped face storage box, Lin Yuan washed his face and brushed his teeth before walking out of the tent. As soon as he walked out of the tent, he saw Lu Jia holding a piece of paper. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Lu Jia handed the piece of paper to him and said, "Lin Yuan, Roya has left. Lin Yuan, Roya has left. This is her contact information. Roya said to call her if we go to Nanma City." Upon seeing Lu Jia's piece of paper, Lin Yuan raised his brows. He had to go to Nanma City. He still wanted to obtain the spirit plant, the walnut tree, through Roya. However, going to Nanmu City was a matter of a few days later. Tomorrow morning, Lin Yuan would return to the Radiance Federation to participate in the Celestial Council with Wenyu. He did not know if the Iron Hammer Federation's Trey had led the tribe through a calamity after he had rapidly become a Class 1 creation master. He also did not know if the former Dark Federation's Dark Envoy, Zoel, who was currently stranded in the Divine Wood Federation, would agree to join the Celestial Council after a week of consideration. In fact, Lin Yuan already had a conclusion in his heart as to whether Zoel would join the Celestial Council. ABC. Chapter 1191. Lin Yuan felt that as long as Su Yiren was not stupid, she would not give up this chance to live. Even if this chance to live would cause her to lose her freedom. After all, it was much more important for those who wanted revenge to live on and hold on to hope than to have freedom. As for the resources for the Sincere Righteous Trade Association, Lin Yuan had already prepared them before he went to bed last night. Mr. Feng collected all the Honest Faith Trade Association's object storing walnuts and handed a total of 12 silver walnuts to Lin Yuan. There were a total of 57 bronze walnuts. The total area of these walnuts was less than 2,000 square meters. If Lin Yuan wanted the Sincere Righteous Trade Association to develop quickly, the price of the resources could not be too low. Of course, it was not appropriate to give the Sincere Righteous Trade Association too expensive. A small trade association with too expensive resources could easily get into trouble. Previously, the Dry Cliff Bandits had targeted the Sincere Righteous Trade Association. Who knew if other bandits would target the Sincere Righteous Trade Association in the future? Finally, Lin Yuan placed a large number of resources produced from Class 2-dimensional rifts into these walnuts. These resources were produced from Class 2-dimensional rifts in every dimensional rift. It was fine even if the Divine Wood Federation did not open underground dimensional rifts or the Iron Hammer Federation did not open swamp dimensional rifts. The Sincere Righteous Trade Association traveled between the Iron Hammer and Divine Wood Federations, so it was not impossible to obtain these resources. The resources that Lin Yuan provided were all top-notch for the Sincere Righteous Trade Association. They were also the resources that the Sincere Righteous Trade Association could control to the greatest extent. Everything had to be done slowly. He believed that the Sincere Righteous Trade Association would soon be able to expand its scale with this capital injection. After Lin Yuan handed these walnuts to Mr. Feng, Mr. Feng's eyes nearly fell out of their sockets when he examined them. It could be said that the Sincere Righteous Trade Association did not have the qualifications to obtain any of the resources in these walnuts. It would be a joyous occasion for the Sincere Righteous Trade Association if they could occasionally obtain one of these resources. When Mr. Feng held the walnuts filled with resources, his hand could not help but tremble. After some calculations, these walnuts were worth at least 8 million deep Brahmin coins. How much did the Sincere Righteous Trade Association originally have? With this capital, it was not a dream for the Sincere Righteous Trade Association to develop. After Mr. Feng expressed his gratitude to Lin Yuan, he immediately summoned all the members of the Sincere Caravan. He told everyone about Lin Yuan pouring resources into the Sincere Caravan without concealing anything. When the members of the Qing Caravan heard the sudden good news, they were overjoyed. Mr. Feng looked at the surprised members of the Sincere Caravan before looking at Lin Yuan. Originally, our Cheng Caravan only had 100,000 deep Brahmin coins. And this is the price of all our heads and the lives of our family members. Lin Yuan's capital injection for our sincere e-caravan has reached at least 80 times the original price of our goods. According to the calculation of shares, Lin Yuan has more than 98% of the sincere e-caravan's shares. Now, I suggest that Lin Yuan be our sincere caravan's captain. Mr. Feng's words made Lin Yuan raise his brows. After a short period of silence, most people responded to Mr. Feng's suggestion. However, he did not want to be the captain of the sincere e-caravan. The resources that Lin Yuan had poured into the sincere e-caravan seemed to be a lot in their eyes. Almost all of them were expensive items that one wouldn't dare to dream of normally. However, if one were to really calculate it, these resources were not as valuable as a source-type item. If he did not want to keep the pinnacle class two-dimensional rift in front of him, he would have explored it with Lu Jie. He took out 2 source-type items from the dimensional hub and gathered the materials that were easy to collect. According to the original standards, the resources obtained were enough to invest in the Qingyi caravan for another 7 or 8 times. In other words, the Spirit Lock spatial zone would produce 1 Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl every 20 breaths. A Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl was enough to cause a raging wave in a place like the Agon continent that didn't have any Class 5 creation masters. This caused the experts of the 3 great federations to fight over it. He could imagine a continent without Class 5 creation masters. How much did the experts on the continent desire such resources that could only be nurtured by pinnacle Class 4 creation masters with extreme luck? Therefore, the investment provided to the sincere e-caravan was just a drop in the bucket for him. The sincere e-caravan's members didn't know that they could talk to Lin Yuan for a while. In terms of value, the time spent on Lin Yuan was already more valuable than the resources in the object storage walnut. After Mr. Feng made his proposal, he had been secretly observing Lin Yuan's expression. Seeing that Lin Yuan didn't agree, Mr. Feng knew he had done the wrong thing. However, Lin Yuan had provided so much investment to the sincere e-caravan, and the caravan couldn't repay him at all. Mr. Feng didn't have the face to say that he would sell the resources in the object storage walnut and give the money to Lin Yuan. If Lin Yuan wanted to transfer the resources, he didn't need to go through the sincere e-caravan. If Lin Yuan took these resources to the Deep Frost Chamber of Commerce, he would immediately be treated as a VIP by the sincere e-caravan. The only thing he could do now was to lead the entire caravan to express their loyalty to Lin Yuan. On one hand, it was a response to Lin Yuan's investment. On the other hand, Lin Yuan had become the captain of the sincere e-caravan and was completely integrated into the caravan. In the future, Lin Yuan would definitely help the sincere e-caravan develop again. It could be said that this was a good opportunity for the sincere e-caravan. The more excited the sincere e-caravan's members were, the more embarrassed Mr. Feng felt. At that moment, the youth's clear voice gave Mr. Feng a ladder. First of all, thank you for your support. My original intention was to go out and train. I can't follow the caravan everywhere. Therefore, it isn't suitable for me to be the captain. In addition, I will provide the sincere e-caravan with the capital because I see its potential. A caravan's capital can be accumulated through a few fortuitous encounters. However, the hearts of the people gathered by the caravan can't be exchanged for no matter how much capital you have. Lin Yuan's words made everyone in the sincere e-caravan, including Mr. Feng, feel warm. Mr. Feng asked Lin Yuan, in that case, I will still be worried about the captain. In that case, I will still be worried about the captain of the sincere e-caravan. I wonder if you can be the honorary captain of the sincere e-caravan? In the future, the sincere e-caravan's earned resources will be refunded to you at 98% of the shares. ABC. Chapter 1193. Lin Yuan looked at the green-skinned dwarf in front of him, who was shivering but whose eyes were darting around. He raised his brows slightly and said to his shadow, "Don't worry." He raised his brows slightly and said to his shadow, "Void Shadow Demon, help this gnome set the rules." When the Class 4 gnomes saw Lin Yuan walking toward it, it felt as though it had seen a devil. The Class 4 gnome knew that the expert that had used a shocking force to stick it on the spiderweb was the servant of this person in front of it. In the understanding of dimensional lifeforms, it was often the weak who submitted to the strong. Lin Yuan might not have revealed his strength, but in the eyes of the Class 4 gnome, he was already the most powerful existence. At the same time, there was another question in the rank 4 Earth essence. There were so many crypt creatures. There were so many gnome lifeforms, and it could be said that it was the smallest and most inconspicuous existence. Furthermore, it had tried its best to restrain its aura on the spiderweb. Why would it be singled out? If it had to be singled out, it should have been that big blockhead, the obsidian gargoyle, who had been struggling. That blockhead was obviously the most eye-catching. When the Void Shadow Demon heard Lin Yuan's instructions, it immediately crawled out of Lin Yuan's shadow. When the Void Shadow Demon released its aura at the Class 4 gnome, the eyes of the Class 4 gnome that was bound by the spiderweb rolled back. It was so frightened that it fainted. Although the princess had performed a Source-type baptism on dimensional lifeforms, the Source-type lifeforms would feel grateful because of the transformation of their lifeforms. However, this situation was usually only for lifeforms like the lizard ting that possessed intelligence but had relatively simple intelligence. For dimensional lifeforms like the gnome, which was cunning and greedy, it was extremely cautious. If Lin Yuan transformed it into an apostle, he would obtain the loyalty of the Class 4 gnome. In the end, he might obtain a selfish, gluttonous, and lazy master. Looking at the unconscious green-skinned dwarf, Lin Yuan didn't have the slightest bit of pity. He immediately instructed the Void Shadow Demon. Void Shadow Demon, wake him up. The Void Shadow Demon replied in a hoarse voice. Lord Ruler, don't worry. Give me 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, this gnome won't dare to go west if you order it to go east. As long as it can work, it will never think of resting. While speaking, the Void Shadow Demon's body scattered and turned into a shadow that fused into the Class 4 gnome's shadow. 10 minutes later, the Void Shadow Devil stood in front of Lin Yuan again. The drooling goblin looked at Lin Yuan with eyes that looked as though it was looking at a god. When he recalled the Void Shadow Demon's ability, he couldn't help but shiver. Not to mention this level 4 gnome. He reckoned that it was a heartless mackerel from an alien insect dimensional rift. It was a cruel, mindless alien insect that was born purely to kill and eat. After experiencing what the Void Shadow Fiend had just done, he would also become an obedient child. Lin Yuan felt that his Void Shadow Fiend could be conferred the title of a Dimensional Life Form Ambassador. It was used for friendly communication with other dimensional creatures. Looking at the goblin's submissive eyes, Lin Yuan waved his hand and summoned Genius. This Class 4 gnome was equivalent to a Platinum Fae, and Genius' strength was now at Diamond. Even if this level 4 gnome resisted fiercely after Genius used its exclusive skill, Interconnection Tail, the gnome wouldn't be able to kill it. It wouldn't do much harm to intelligence. Lin Yuan asked Genius to create an interconnection tail between himself, Lu Jia, the Void Shadow Devil, and the gnome. After Genius transformed into the Internet Beast, Lin Yuan rarely allowed Genius to use its interconnection tail to link multiple targets at once. Now that Genius had 8 tails, the interconnection tail could link 8 targets at the same time. On the one hand, Lin Yuan wanted to make use of this opportunity to let everyone master the underground world's language. On the other hand, he wanted to see the inner heart of this Class 4 gnome and its experience in the underground world. He wanted to see if this Class 4 gnome was as submissive as it appeared to be under the Void Shadow Devil's guidance. When it heard Lin Yuan's instructions, Genius' ocean-like spiritual energy suddenly fluctuated. The massive spiritual energy fluctuation made one feel as though they were surrounded by a vast ocean. However, Genius' spiritual energy didn't have an invasive nature. If Genius didn't use its spiritual energy to intentionally target a certain target, the target would feel extremely comfortable. Under the influence of Genius' mental power, any target would enter an extremely comfortable and calm state. The 8 tails behind Genius, which were more than twice the size of its body, blossomed like flower petals. 4 of the tails separated from Genius' body and turned into 4 glass-like ribbons of light in the air. The 4 ribbons of light intertwined like butterflies and connected Lin Yuan, Lu Jia, the Void Shadow Devil, and Genius with the Class 4 gnome. The instant the interconnection tail was completed, Lin Yuan saw the experience of the Class 4 gnome from when it had consciousness until now. At that moment, Genius was rapidly learning the underground world's language based on the knowledge that the Class 4 gnome possessed. Lin Yuan was looking at the Class 4 gnome's experience. After a round of investigation, Lin Yuan finally knew why this gnome's bloodline had mutated into an or vein when it was only Class 4. The more Lin Yuan looked at the Class 4 gnome's experience, the more he lamented. This Class 4 gnome was the child of destiny. From the moment it had consciousness, it had appeared in a large ore vein and constantly devoured the ores in the ore vein to increase its strength. It had even devoured the ore core of the ore vein. The ore core was the purest mineral in the ore vein's core, and it possessed purer energy than the other minerals in the ore vein. At the same time, it was extremely beneficial to dimensional life forms like the gnome. It wasn't over after devouring the ore veins or core. After devouring the ore veins or core, the Class 4 gnome had been chased by other powerful dimensional life forms. In the process of being chased by other dimensional life forms, the Class 4 gnome had fallen into a mountain stream, an underground river, and an unknown ore vein. However, after encountering a life-threatening danger, this dying gnome would always discover a new hidden ore vein that had yet to be discovered by other underground life forms. This Class 4 gnome's experience was always accompanied by fortuitous encounters. Lin Yuan felt that if he had to give this gnome a name, it would be most suitable to call it Xiao Yan. For some unknown reason, Lin Yuan felt that this gnome's experience was somewhat similar to Su Chu's. However, compared to this Class 4 gnome, Su Chu's journey was much more bumpy. This Class 4 gnome's body still had a large amount of ore core energy. Previously in the ore vein, the Class 4 gnome had been in a hurry to devour the ores in the ore vein and was afraid that other underground life forms would discover it. Therefore, a large portion of the ore core that was difficult to digest was stored in this Class 4 gnome's stomach. This allowed Lin Yuan to see the opportunity for the Class 4 gnome to rapidly transform its bloodline and evolve into an ore vein gnome. End of this chapter. Chapter 1194. When dimensional lifeforms were undergoing the source-type baptism, they would completely stimulate the hidden energy within their bodies. Using the source-type baptism, the Class 4 gnome could attempt to completely digest the energy in the ore core. Once the ore core's energy was completely digested, the gnome would have at least an 80% chance of metamorphosis. After probing the gnome's emotions, Lin Yuan realized that the Void Shadow Demon's training had made the gnome completely obedient. In such a state, the gnome was already qualified to metamorphose into an apostle. As Genius grade increased, its learning ability also increased. Soon, Genius's grasp of the underground world's language reached the same standard as this Class 4 gnome. Genius arranged the knowledge regarding the underground world's language and transmitted it to Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, and the Void Shadow Demon's minds through the end of connection. Lu Jie had never seen Genius use its abilities. Although Lu Jie could sense Genius grade and grade, he didn't know anything about Genius's abilities. Genius's current abilities amazed Lu Jie. The most difficult thing between humans was communication. Genius's ability allowed two people's thoughts to perfectly blend together. It could also use the blended thoughts to perfectly understand the other person. This ability was truly terrifying. With this ability, the human heart wouldn't be the most difficult thing to understand. Instead, it could be completely displayed in the open for people to browse through like watching a movie. While Lu Jie was in awe, an abnormal spiritual energy was transmitted into his mind. Since it was Genius's spiritual energy, Lu Jie had no reason to reject it. After gladly accepting it, Lu Jie suddenly felt as though he could understand the noises that were transmitted to his ears. These noises came from the various underground lifeforms that were stuck on the spider web. Lu Jie calmed down and realized that he actually completely understood the meaning of these underground lifeforms' cries. This discovery caused Lu Jie's pupils to suddenly shrink. He had seen so many carcinoma phase in the land of spirit suppression. Among them, there were several S-class anomalies that caused Lu Jie's hair to stand on end at the thought of them. Those S-grade anomalies in the depths of the land of spirit suppression were all powerful killing machines. Some of them would cause a disaster that even Her Majesty might not be able to do much. Even if Her Holiness could kill it with all her might, she couldn't bear the consequences of those things wreaking havoc. And now, Genius was sharing the knowledge within its body with other living beings. The ability to help other beings gain knowledge opened his eyes to many possibilities. In the current world, any one of these possibilities could only exist in the imagination. However, if Genius continued to develop its abilities, it would definitely be able to turn the things in its imagination into reality. In Lu Jie's opinion, Lin Yuan would expose Smart's ability in front of him. It was completely out of absolute trust in him. Lu Jie planned to lock what he had learned today in his mind and never mention it to anyone else. Even the other companions in the return from faraway manor. The Void Shadow Demon didn't think too much about it. As early as the moment the Void Shadow Devil recognized Lin Yuan as its ruler, it would not be surprised by anything Lin Yuan did. As far as the Void Shadow Fiend was concerned, sovereigns were omnipotent existences. With Genius's tale of interconnection, Lin Yuan wasn't able to obtain any information regarding the apostles from the goblin's spiritual energy. It seemed that this goblin was too weak and wasn't qualified to hear about the legends of the apostles in the underground world. Lin Yuan didn't keep it in suspense and immediately communicated with the princess in the depths of his soul. Princess, time to work. Prepare 400 portions of source-type power and baptize this goblin's source-type. The princess was a little wary when she heard Lin Yuan's instructions. Master, there's someone beside you. Will it be bad if I use my ability? Lin Yuan glanced at Lu Jie and the Void Shadow Devil and shook his head. The Void Shadow Devil had dedicated its faith to him, and the power of faith was stored in the shrine in its mind. The Void Shadow Devil had just recently dedicated its faith to him, but it had already taken up the largest cluster of faith in the shrine. It could be said that the Void Shadow Devil's faith in him was fanatical. Faith was the most sacred thing to dimensional life forms. Dimensional life forms had always used their lives to defend the faith in their hearts. As for Lu Jie, if he hadn't pushed Lin Yuan away in the underground dimensional rift to block that attack, Lin Yuan wouldn't have been able to survive. Lin Yuan wasn't sure if he would still be alive now. Therefore, Lin Yuan had nothing to hide in front of Lu Jie. Lu Jie would always follow him to the swamp world. With the opening of the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift, people would constantly explore the Abyss world. The concept of apostles would soon surface in the exploration. At that time, Lu Jie would easily discover that Wendy and Shiting in the swamp world were both apostles. Everything in the dimensional world was still in the exploration stage. By establishing a base in the swamp world, he was already the forerunner of the dimensional world. Lin Yuan planned to bring Lu Jie along in the exploration of the dimensional world. He could casually display the princess's strength in front of Lu Jie. The princess was the product of the combination of two sacred source lifeforms and was somewhat special. However, it was still something that originally existed in this world. Morbius, on the other hand, was different. Morbius was Lin Yuan's greatest trump card, and he didn't even tell his only blood relative, Chu Ci. Lin Yuan intended to keep Morbius' secret in his stomach forever. It's fine. Let's start. Take a little longer to inject the source-type power into this goblin. Give the gnome some time to digest the remaining energy in its body. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, the princess replied energetically, "Don't worry. I'll inject the 400 portions of source-type power into this goblin's body in 40 batches. Every 10 portions is a unit." As they conversed, the princess's image appeared behind Lin Yuan. Lu Jie immediately revealed a strange expression when he saw the princess's image appear behind Lin Yuan. On one hand, Lu Jie did not understand why Lin Yuan was activating his sacred source life form. Lu Jie was not a creation master and could not examine Lin Yuan's sacred source lifeform's abilities. During the martial and civil duels, Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan's sacred source lifeform had two abilities. One ability was a strong resistance to fire elements. The other ability was an extremely powerful dark-type attack ability. Under such circumstances, there was no need to activate these two abilities. On the other hand, Lu Jia found that the woman's image behind Lin Yuan, who was wearing a crown, holding a long sword, and flying skirt, was much more exquisite than before. Especially that silk skirt, it seemed to contain an even more beautiful scenery than before. End of this chapter. Chapter 1195. Before Lu Jia could think further, he saw Lin Yuan and the woman behind him raise their hands at the same time. An amber energy ray gushed out of Lin Yuan's palm and shot toward the green-skinned gnome that was kneeling on the ground. The moment the amber energy appeared, the void shadow demon, who had been standing to the side, felt his knees buckle. It knelt on the ground in a devout and respectful manner. The void shadow demon's body trembled violently. This was the first time in its life that it had experienced such pure source-type power. The void shadow demon thought to itself. I wonder how many lifetimes this class 4 gnome has cultivated for it to actually obtain the Lord Ruler's appreciation. With such pure source-type power, as long as the Lord Ruler isn't stingy, this class 4 gnome might be able to become an apostle today. However, the void shadow demon was not envious. This was because Lin Yuan had made the same promise to it. At that time, it would be able to accept Lin Yuan's pure source-type power and become an apostle just like this gnome. It had not accepted the source-type baptism yet because it wanted to accumulate more. It would strive to use the source-type baptism to become an apostle and at the same time be immortal. As the pure source-type power poured into the class 4 gnome, the grayish-green color on its body kept receding. Its skin started to turn bluish. However, the gnome's short stature still did not grow. Its ears were getting sharper, and its teeth were getting sharper. These sharp teeth made it easier for the class 4 gnome to chew on metals that were difficult to chew. After Lin Yuan poured 200 portions of source-type power into the class 4 gnome's body, it had completely turned into a greenish-blue-skinned dwarf. As the source-type power continued to be poured in, the class 4 gnome's body started to have some faint tattoo-like veins. At first, these veins seemed rather abrupt. However, these veins gradually became more and more aligned, and it looked like layers of a mine in Lin Yuan's eyes. After Lin Yuan poured in the last portion of source-type power, he had finished pouring in 400 portions of source-type power. When the last portion of source-type power was poured in, a vigorous hiss came out of the class 4 gnome's throat. An amber totem suddenly lit up on the class 4 gnome's nose. On the amber totem was the outline of a towering mine. The mine had a strong metallic luster. This totem was the faith totem that the level 4 goblin had awakened after becoming an apostle, the Metal Mountain totem. Lin Yuan used true data to check on the apostle gnome. Exotic beast name, Mine Goblin, life form, apostle, exotic beast level, for power of faith, extremely weak, faith totem, Metal Mountain totem innate skills frowny face metal growth. Sign a contract with a type of metal and absorb the metal's energy to increase one's strength. After increasing one's strength, one will feed the metal back to the metal, causing it to increase in size. After swallowing a certain amount of the contracted metal, one's body will begin to remember the metal. When one is not swallowing the metal, one can use the energy within one's body to create the metal that the body remembers. Every time one increases in grade, one can replace a type of metal. Or vein heart, when discovering an unmined or vein, you can use your heart's blood to raise the purest ore core in the depths of the ore vein, turning the ore in the core into ore essence. After signing a contract with the ore essence, you can use the ore essence to mine the ore vein. After the ore vein is mined, you can increase your strength by devouring the ore essence. Power of Faith Frowny Face Bloodman Transformation. By injecting a portion of the totem's energy into the bloodman's body, it can transform the bloodman's life form, allowing the bloodman to transform from an ordinary dimensional creature into a blessed believer through the power of the totem. He realized that this class 4 goblin's bloodline had completely transformed into a mine goblin. It could be assumed that the appearance of the class 4 goblin's tattoos was because its bloodline had completely evolved into a mine goblin. After transforming into an apostle, the mine goblin's metal growth talent had been strengthened. Originally, the mine goblin could only sign a contract with one type of metal at a time. After increasing the grade and changing the type of contracted metal, the originally contracted metal could no longer continue to grow. However, the Mind Goblin's body could now carry out a memory of the metal. After swallowing a certain amount of contracted metal, the Mind Goblin's body would be able to carry out a memory of the metal. Afterward, it could use its own energy to wantonly create the metal that the body remembered. Although the Mind Goblin's metal growth talent had been strengthened, there were still only a few types of metal that the Mind Goblin could remember. However, the Mind Goblin had indeed created something out of nothing. As long as the energy could keep up, the metal that the body remembered could be continuously created. The Mind Goblin was equivalent to a human-shaped mine. After transforming into an apostle, the new or vein heart talent allowed the Mind Goblin to form an army. It could take on the mining team's work by itself. Afterward, it could also devour the ore essence formed from the ore core without any waste to increase its strength. Lin Yuan could not be more satisfied with the Class 4 Mind Goblin after transforming into an apostle. Under the Void Shadow Demon's training, the Mind Goblin had already regarded Lin Yuan as a god. Due to its level in the underground world, the Mind Goblin had never heard of the legend of an apostle. However, it knew that Lin Yuan had undergone a great upgrade in its entire life level. No matter how cunning the Mind Goblin was, it should still be grateful to Lin Yuan. The gnome stood up from the ground and bowed to Lin Yuan as he spoke. "Master, from now on, I will only listen to your instructions." While speaking, he glanced at the Void Shadow Demon. However, he was no longer as afraid of the Void Shadow Demon. After transforming into an apostle, his strength was far inferior to the Void Shadow Demon. However, the difference in life level made him look down on the Void Shadow Demon for no reason. The fact that a Class 4 Goblin dared to look down on the Class 11 Void Shadow Demon showed the difference in status between the life levels of dimensional life forms. Lin Yuan did not expect the Class 4 Mind Goblin to give itself a name. From the way the Mind Goblin gave itself a name, it could be seen that the Mind Goblin had extremely high intelligence. However, it was a little strange for a dwarf to give himself the name Mountain. Lin Yuan did not know how much hope this name carried. Not only had the Mind Goblin's bloodline transformed, but its life level had also been promoted to the apostle level. Based on ability alone, the name Mount Chong was not unexpected at all. Lin Yuan smiled and said, "Mountain, you have to work hard in the future. Mountain, you have to work hard in the future. By the way, what kind of metal did you sign a contract with for your metal proliferation talent?" Chapter 1196. Upon hearing that, the ore vein goblin hurriedly stretched out its palm, and soon, Lin Yuan saw metal ions dissociating from its palm. Slowly, a metal sphere condensed in the gnome's hand. "For as long as I can remember, I've always had ores to eat. I don't need to use my talent to create my own metals to satisfy my hunger. That's why I've only signed a contract with this metal." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan could not help but hold his forehead with his hand. Goblins were indeed blessed by the heavens. In the dimensional world, where danger lurked everywhere, Chong Shan had to take risks to find food in order to survive. Chong Shan's life was like that of a deity. If other gnomes heard what Chong Shan said, they would be jealous. After taking a closer look, Lin Yuan realized that the metal sphere in the ore vein gnome's hand was a kind of fire-heart copper that could only be produced in the underground dimensional rift. The blaze-heart copper might only be produced in underground dimensional rifts, but its actual price wasn't high. Flame core copper was mainly used as a high-heat fuel. There were many fire-attribute spiritual materials produced in the abyss world that could replace the flame-heart copper. Therefore, Lin Yuan spoke. "Mountain, since you signed a contract with the fire-heart copper when you were at a lower level, you should be able to change the metal type of the contract now, right?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Mountain nodded vigorously. "Yes, Master. I can change the type of contract metal at any time." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan reached out and patted Mountain's shoulder. "Without my permission, don't you dare change the metal type of your metal growth contract. Later, I'll give you a metal spirit material for you to use to form a contract with. When the time comes, try to help me produce more of this metal spirit material." Hearing this, Chongshan grinned, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth under his bluish-purple lips. Master, leave it to Chongshan. Chongshan is the best at producing metals. Chongshan said as he pointed in the distance. Master, Chongshan sensed a mine a kilometer away. The fluctuations from this mine are extremely strong. It should be a large mine. Upon hearing Mountain's words, Lin Yuan turned to Lu Jie and the Void Shadow Demon. Why don't we follow Chongshan to see what kind of minerals are hidden in the underground mineral vein? Upon hearing that, Lu Jie looked at the Class 2 underground dimensional rift and asked Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, what are you planning to do with this pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift? Can Inhua's white bone flower seed grow to this position and use it to surround the pinnacle Class 2 dimensional rift? Lin Yuan first sensed the silver flower's current growth progress and then smiled. Based on Silver Splendor's current strength, it's impossible to expand 90 kilometers in this direction. How long can the web domain glass spider control this Class 2 underground dimensional rift? If I give Yinhua a month and a half to grow and increase my rank, I think Yinhua should be able to enter the gold rank in that time. When the time comes, the area of the gold-silver splendor sea of flowers should be able to expand to 90 kilometers to the north. Lu Jie grabbed 2 handfuls of platinum protein cocoon chrysalises and sprinkled them on the web weaved by the reticulated glass spider. Since that's the case, I won't recall the net realm glass spiders for the next 1.5 months. These 2 platinum protein cocoon chrysalises are enough for the reticulated glass spider's daily consumption. In addition, if Heavy Mountain really finds an ore vein, I will let the reticulated glass spider continue to weave a giant web of 1 kilometer to reach the location of the ore vein. After that, according to Heavy Mountain's detection of the ore vein's range, use 30% of the spider web to completely seal off the area where the ore vein is located. As a Radiance 100 sequence member, Lu Jie was very clear about the value of an ore vein. Moreover, this ore vein was very likely to be a large one. Even if this ore vein produced the cheapest minerals like inferior energy ores, a large mine would be able to make a lot of money. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan said delightedly, then I'll have to trouble Big Brother Lu. However, the reticulated glass spider's web requires a lot of energy. Lu Jie, I can let the reticulated glass spider eat the weak dimensional lifeforms on the spider web that can't last for a month even if they are provided with food. Lu Jie instructed the reticulated glass spider to gnaw on the protein cocoon chrysalises and spit silk while replying to Lin Yuan. As long as we don't encounter any powerful enemies that will destroy the spider web, these energy cocoons will be enough. If any dimensional creature really can't hold on and is on the verge of death, the spider web will secrete mucus and pour it into the mouth of the dying dimensional creature on the spider web. Although this mucus doesn't taste good, the nutrients it contains are enough to prolong one's life. At the same time, this mucus also has the effect of healing emotional wounds. Once Silver Splendor's sea of flowers spreads over, all the dimensional lifeforms that emerge from this pinnacle Class 2 underground dimensional rift within a month will become Silver Splendor's fresh rations. While they were talking, they had arrived at the area pointed out by Chongshan. The mine goblins themselves had the ability to change the landscape. After reaching the area, the land at the foot of the mountain quickly collapsed. The collapse of the land only stopped when it reached a depth of nearly 30 meters. Chongshan used his hands to feel around the 30-meter deep hole in the ground. Soon, he found a few ores with a silver metallic luster. Carrying the silver metallic ores, Chongshan returned to the ground. Heavy Mountain said as he handed over the ores he found underground. Master, these are the types of ores produced in this mine. Don't judge the quality of the ores in the outer layer of the mine. Break open the outer layer of the mine, and the quality of the ores in the mine will be better. Lin Yuan took a look at the ores that Heavy Mountain handed over and found that the mine actually produced the spirit-fixing silver, a silver metallic material. When creation masters were concocting proficient spirit liquids or those with relatively cheap spiritual ingredients, they would generally use crystal vessels. In order to stabilize the spirit liquids and reduce the probability of failure, the creation masters would put away their usual crystal vessels. The creation master would then put away the usual crystal bottles and utensils. Instead, They would use vessels made of the spirit-fixing silver, a silver metallic material. In the Radiance Federation, the spirit-fixing silver that Creation Masters used was sold in the Creation Master Association. However, the price was relatively higher than the market price. Batches of spirit-fixing silver would occasionally appear in the market. After these batches of spirit-fixing silver appeared, there would be no chance for them to be put on the star web. They would be snapped up by the Creation Masters with the channels. Lin Yuan understood this very well. After all Creation Masters were tycoons. Even for expensive plant phase like the flower brocade pearls, Creation Masters would want to hoard more. Let alone the daily necessities of spirit-fixing silver. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.